WIFTBPM. WIFTBPM.
Introducing your trusted source for high-quality Black emojis, better known as Blackmoji. We believe Black is beautiful, and that beauty should be reflected in the digital market. Now there is an app that does just that, starting with Black Greek letter organizations. Blackmoji D9 offers more than an emoji app. It is a cultural experience of Black excellence. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to access a specially curated catalog of emojis representing the Divine Nine. Use the emojis to celebrate Black Greek events, acknowledge current events, support social causes, and learn about esteemed Black Greek members who blaze the trail of Black history. A portion of every subscription goes toward a scholarship fund specifically for members of Black Greek-letter organizations to help keep the legacy alive. Download the Blackmoji app today.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your Black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday.
The Chicago Legal Network is the collaboration of attorneys that concentrate in many areas of the law most needed in Chicago neighborhoods. The CLN lawyers focus on personal injury, criminal defense, and other issues. The CLN lawyers all average over 20 years of legal experience and are dedicated to helping the Chicago community. The Chicago Legal Network is committed to developing Black lawyers through mentorship and co-representation. So if you were injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or injured on the job, or you need assistance with criminal defense, including driving violations and DUI, check out ChicagoLegalNetwork.com for more information or call 773-912-3545. 773-912-3545.
Maze Jackson.
If you could make up a social media holiday, what would it be?
Randy said National Don't Let No One Put You Down Day.
No one. What you gonna do? So when they say something crazy, you slap them?
Be like Maze said. Remy said a Jukathon Day.
Man, we're about 60 years old. Be done had a heart.
You gotta get your heart rate up.
Okay, not that far.
Yeah. All right, Mario said my favorite one. My friends and I do what we call National Call Off from Work Day.
As a business owner, I don't.
You don't like that, yeah?
I don't like that.
Because I'm the boss of this family.
We got Marcus Garvey Day from Remy too.
Oh, Marcus Garvey Day. All right, what will we do on Marcus Garvey Day?
Call off from work.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. That would be great. Okay?
Yeah, right.
What? Every Black holiday has something to do with calling off from work.
You're cool. I'm out.
How about National Join a Positive Black Organization Day? Because I don't want to be recruiting. I don't want to be recruiting and the brothers be like, thank you. Thank you. How about National Tell White People the Truth Day? Tell them how you really feel.
You can't handle the truth.
Why don't we call that National Black People Get Locked Up Day?
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hello.
The most dangerous show in the morning.
WIIFTBP Media's just for you and me. WIIFTBP Media's just for you and me.
Are you curious to explore the intellectual currents that channel our thoughts and frame our reality? Have you ever meditated for relaxation and accidentally discovered the universe in the process? These matters and many more you may never have even thought of will be yours to explore as you come with me into Muwakil's world. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1. Right here on What's in It for the Black People.
That's why we shine wherever we go. 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 Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what the cop said. I'm living a legacy. So even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead. Fuck with me.
Hey, Toot, let me test your work. Hey, Herb, let me test your work.
You about that life? I'm about that life. You ain't really about that life. fuck with me.
What's happening, good people? Hey, yo, Esco, stop starting the show like that, man. It's absolutely hilarious, and I'm too immature for that. This is what's today? Thursday? Friday? Wednesday?
Thursday.
Listen, man, my bad, y'all. Welcome to this Thursday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios. Herb Howard, Tucson, Warner. We get together right here with you every single weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. And we discuss issues that are impacting the black community, how those issues are impacting us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through many of these issues in hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome them. Again, overcome them as individuals, but more importantly, overcome them as a collective. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of the conversation. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible as we go through. We would kindly request that you please take a quick moment to share the broadcast by clicking on that little arrow in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Click on that arrow to share the broadcast. Share it to your personal page. Share it even within your personal network. Anyone that you think would add value to or find value in this particular conversation, we welcome them to be a part of the discussion. It is our belief that the more like-minded individuals we can get to be a part of this conversation, the better the opportunities we have of finding the optimum solutions going forward. So please, please, please take a quick moment to share the broadcast. I'm going to take a quick moment to do that myself. I had not yet done so let me go ahead and share it. Boom. Again, y'all, this is I Said What I Said. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest. My name is Herb. His name is Tu. What's happening, good brother?
Family, I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you? Yeah,
that's keep it a buck, man. I try to keep it a buck every time I come in here, man. I don't be like, oh, it's a show. Let me act like I'm having the best day ever. I'm cool. I'm solid. It's decent. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I'm good, man. I'm always happy to be here. Always happy to sit down and chop it up with the Izwiz family. So I'm happy about that. But just in general, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of things happening. A lot of things to manage. A lot of things to juggle, right? And inevitably, when you try to juggle so many things, something's gonna fall, right? And then people want things from you. Everybody wants something. And so I want this and I want that and pull this and pull that and call you and can you do this for me? And can you call this person? Can you set that up? And can you do this? And it's like, yeah, I can, right? But let me get all my ducks in a row and get this thing done. And but everybody thinks that their issue that they want you to handle or their issue that they want to talk to you about is the most important thing in the world. Everybody thinks that the thing that they are talking about is paramount, right? And it's like, yo, it's a lot of other things going on. And so calm down, right? And then you walk into the studio and it's this going on, it's that going on. It's like, oh, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And, we got a dope team here. Everybody is phenomenal at what they do. I try to be phenomenal at what I do. And my part of that comes in, it's like, hey, do this. It's like, yo, everybody just take a deep breath, right? Just calm down and relax. That is what, in my opinion, that's one of my greatest strengths. It's my ability to deal with chaos and stress in the moment, right? Like, okay, this is happening right now. Relax, okay? The only way we're gonna get through this thing in a positive way is everybody just calm the fuck down, right? Stop being all excited. And so, I'm just feeling the way today. I'm good, but I'm just feeling the way today.
I think that's interesting that you started this off like that because I want to play this video today. And I think it speaks not just to that specifically, but when you was telling me a little earlier that you was a little flustered or whatever, my response was welcome to manhood.
Yeah.
And just listening to you and just thinking about it, and it really might be welcome to black manhood. Right? It's optionless without humanity, and I told you that a while ago. You know what I mean? So it is everybody's needs over your needs. You know, it's a running joke that just in general, like the daddy gets the big piece of chicken.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But when you supersede that with the pressures of just being a black male in this society, what's the big piece of chicken look like? Right? And what are you dealing with to get to just the big piece of chicken?
Right.
And it becomes a much more interesting conversation. I was gonna make a joke and say, Mercury must be in retrograde or some shit because my whole life is chaotic in this moment.
It's real.
You know what I mean?
It's real.
I was telling you just a minute ago, man, I was looking for my phone all day long and I didn't find it till I pulled up to the station.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got all kind of missed calls from all kind of clients, and I missed out on, who knows what I missed out on because I didn't answer the phone. I'm lethargic, man. I was working real late. That's why I'm discombobulated. I worked this all the way to like 6 this morning.
Yeah.
Tried to lay it down. Kind of unsuccessful in that. So I'm all over the place, man. But we're gonna make it do what it do. I'm laughing at the comments though, because I got to hear that drop again that Sonya did, because I didn't have my headphones on when it dropped. But Gino was in the comments calling us the Coke Boys.
Oh yeah. Hey, so Esco, first of all, let me say hello to the queen. Sis, what's good with you? How you feeling, Sonya Escobar?
I'm better now that you guys are here.
Good. It's always good to be around you too. And when I walk in, because I always say that you are just the bubbliest person. That's just real. You always got this like super, super bubbly like spirit and this high energy. And I don't know how you maintain it, but you do.
Yeah, if you're asking me how did I get so awesome, I don't know.
I wasn't going to ask you that. I wasn't even going to make that statement. But when I walk in and you kind of got this look on your face like, yo, bro, let me talk to you. And I'm like, oh, shit. What y'all done to Esco? Like, I'm like, oh, shit. So
someone took my cookies.
Right. But you, Esco, what did you do to the Test Your Work song? What was that we heard at the beginning of the song? Where it was like, yo, Tool, let me test your work. Yo, Herb, let me.
Hey, Tool, let me test your work. Hey, Herb, let me test your work.
That is great.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is great.
And it's even better than she made Lil Rod the crackhead.
Right, because he is. That's great.
She be thinking.
I see you working, Esco. That's why.
Maybe your producer.
That's why you are the absolute best at what you do, love. Thank you so much for being you. Listen, man, we got a great show on tap for y'all. We're gonna you want to play the video after this break or what? Or you want to get into it later?
Let's get it after the break.
All right, after the break, we jump into this video. Jump into some conversations for today. You got President Barack Obama teaming up with President Bill Clinton, teaming up with President George W. Bush to advocate for people taking the COVID vaccination. Mm-hmm. Right? They said they're going to take it publicly. The three of them are going to take it publicly to show you how safe it is.
Oh, okay. Bless their hearts.
Fool, we saw you drink that water in Flint or not drink the water in Flint. Fuck you. You ain't taking that vaccination. I ain't taking that shit either. This is I Said What I Said. Tucson 1 and Herb Howard here with you till 6. Be right back.
WIFTBPM. Greetings, family. I am Salim Muwakil, and I welcome you to Muwakil's World. I'm going to chop it up with Dr. Lance Williams, professor at Jacob Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies, and one of the most knowledgeable scholars of Chicago's street organizations.
During the doo-wop era, you wasn't doing no doo-wop about what you was doing in the street. That was improper. What made rap so unique was that for the first time, this is how we actually are living, especially at the bottom. So what happens is it becomes so popular because it's so raw. And ultimately, rappers realize that this is what sells, and this is what the industry wants. So even guys who don't authentically have those experiences and young women are rapping about it and having success. And after years of now this happening, it becomes known that, hey, this dude ain't really no real gangster. You know, this is a studio gangster. And what it did was music lost credibility because people thought they were listening to real gangsters rap. The sales of the music who basically was being consumed by white suburban youth. This was their way of, it was a voyeuristic way of experiencing the hood, which they've always been fascinated with, without actually putting your life in danger. So you can listen to it. But once they found out, oh, these dudes ain't real, then even they stopped buying it. What's going on in the streets today? Because what the industry did was they realized, hey, the studio gangster thing ain't gonna work. So guess what? Let's go get some real gangsters that got the real credibility. But you know, when Chief Keef and these guys, so what we have expressed in the music scene today, when you deal with either, you know, trap down stuff, but particularly drill music is the hot music. That's right. Nationally, right? And internationally. And internationally, right? Which started right here on 63rd. O-Block. Okay, O-Block. So it's a shooting culture. So that's what they're rapping about. And that's what is hot. right? And so we saw the tragedy.
Fratricide is hot.
Yeah, that's what the tragedy of King Von, right? Of him, he's a real dude. Now what happens is, because that's the model of success, everybody is following that. So everybody wants to be a shooter now. And what it's doing is it's driving a lot of the violence. In any culture, your music and your entertainment is a part of your cultural expression. So whenever you can have an extended period of time of a particular type of music that's having influence, it becomes a part of your culture. That's what Kwabena is saying in terms of his activism. I'm saying basically these radio stations are helping to produce a culture that's leading to the death and destruction of the Black community so that they could sell, commodify, their merch, right? But, we losing a lot of little brothers and sisters in the streets because of the way they think about things, how they see themselves, which they get from the music. Now, people are like, well, that's crazy that they're being influenced by music. They should be influenced by the values of their families. Ideally, yes. But the reality of the society that we live in is who has the biggest voice. And we know the media is the biggest voice in terms of ideals in the society that we live in.
If that fratricidal motif is being absorbed primarily by white listeners, who's the primary audience, why aren't they exhibiting this kind of behavior?
Because, first of all, it's not their identity.
WIFTBPM.
What's happening, good people? And we are back. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Tucson Warner. My name is Herb Howard. Thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of the conversation. It means a whole lot to us that y'all have chosen to hang out with Lil Ol' Us on this here Thursday afternoon. It's feeling pretty good outside too, man. Feeling pretty good outside for a early December day. I'll take this clean through like April. I'm good with it.
Yeah, man, it'd be dope if outside was open.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
I see in the comments they talking about California being fully shut down, and you're hearing these conversations going back and forth about what's going to happen here. You was talking the other day about COVID fatigue, and I was thinking about that.
Yeah, man, I'm COVIDed out.
I'm COVIDed out. Everybody's COVIDed out, but at the same time, though, man, I'm also alarmed by the rate and the spread at this moment. You know what I mean? After doing the original lockdown and not really reaping any results. And, even the conversation you just talked about with the vaccine and the vaccinations. And, it's interesting. I was just thinking about in this moment is how we've heard from Obama for the last month, much more than we've heard from Biden.
Because he got a fucking book out and because they need Black people to get in line.
Absolutely.
You got to get your...
It's not about...
Yeah. What you call the person who controls the circus? What you call that motherfucker?
Ringmaster.
The ringmaster, right.
Yeah.
You got to get your ringmaster.
So, it's just amazing that he's on... I was turning on... He was on Instagram yesterday on a live with Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the Breakfast Club the other day. He did an hour-long live with Steph Curry. He did the Breakfast Club. I saw him on another interview. He's everywhere. He's all through the press. He's all in the media, right? Uh-huh. And the last thing I heard about Joe Biden was that he sprained his ankle. Think about that.
Which could be a 3-year injury for his ass.
But this is the incoming president versus the former president.
Two presidents
in the midst
removed,
of in the midst of a pandemic, and we're hearing from two presidents removed instead of the guy that's about to take office.
Right.
And be clear.
There's a reason for that.
Be clear. The president the president-elect is a direct reflection of Black people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And Kamala was supposedly to be able to take on that Barack Obama esteem to leverage and lead the flock. And we didn't adapt to Kamala in that way. You know what I mean? Now, don't get it twisted. She still, if Barack is Black Jesus, Kamala's probably Mary Magdalene around this motherfucker.
At this point.
But at the end of the day, it's still a disconnect between Kamala and mostly Black men. Mostly. You know what I mean? So they can't leverage her imagery in the way that they can leverage Barack's imagery. You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's just very interesting to me that in the midst of a presidential election cycle, we have a new president-elect, and we're hearing from a president twice removed.
Yeah.
That shit is, we should be paying attention to that.
What it speaks of to me is a sign of desperation, though, right? To me, it speaks of the energy that has been swelling from the ground up, scares the fuck out of the powers that be, right? They hold this, united front, and they try to act like everything's under control. It scares the fuck out of them when people start to rise up and say, one, we don't believe the shit y'all talking about, whether you're talking about COVID or anything else. One, we don't fucking believe you. Two, we don't give a shit and we're not listening to you. You don't control us no more, right? We'll take over these streets, we'll take over those streets, we'll take over whatever the hell we want to take over. That scares the fuck out of them, right? And so the first thing they try to do is see if they can get you back under control. And then if that doesn't work, then they try to okay, now we're your friend. Let's try to bring you into the fold then, right? If we can't get you to stop doing what we don't want you to do, then let's keep our enemies closer type deal. So, y'all out there knocking over all of these national monuments, telling the true story about American history and all of its injustices. Okay, first we want y'all to stop, okay? Stop doing that. Oh, we can't stop them from doing that? Don't worry about it. We with y'all. We'll take them down. Let's take them down. Take them down, take them down, take them down. Y'all just stop wilding like that. And I think that when you get somebody on the run, that is when you finish that damn fight, right? When we were talking about boxing a lot past week or so. You boxing somebody, you see them wobbling, that's when you go to finish that shit, right? You keep fucking punching. Not every time you be like, okay, all right, cool. They've had enough. Let's work this thing out. No, they're scared now. They're scared now. Why you got them scared is the time to keep fucking punching their ass. And I know they're scared because they pulling out their fucking Trump card, which is Barack Obama for Black people. Right? We got to run Barack Obama out here. Get this book out, go on a national press tour, talk everywhere you can, come stand next to George W. Bush, come stand next to Bill Clinton, come speak for Joe Biden, come do all of this shit to get these people in order because we're scared. And there's value in that fear. There's value in that. If we can understand what's really happening here and continue to apply that pressure, there's value there.
See, I don't know if scared would be what I would go with. I don't know the plan.
Finish him. Right, ready, right?
I don't know the plan. You know what I mean? I don't know what the next plan is, and I think it's a bigger, whatever the next plan is. I think it's a bigger conversation than the United States of America. I think it's that world global domination kind of concept that's going on right now, right? Because the pandemic isn't just affecting America; it's affecting the world.
Sure,
right? And when you start looking at this kind of neoliberalism kind of concept of politics, it's about global empowerment in a lot of ways. It's like total control of capitalism. You know what I mean? And when you start thinking about them leveraging Barack in the way they leveraging Barack, and I think that's interesting because, and this also speaks to us not really fully grasping and knowing our power. Right? This goes to that metaphysical, that spiritual, that nuanced conversation. Right. So when Barack ran for president, a lot of people leveraged and said, he's not a traditional politician. He's a celebrity. And when you think about it, that's our energy anyway, right? Oh, yeah. Black people just have a gravitational pull for the rest of the world. It just is what it is. Like whether we acknowledge it or not, but our culture is infectious. Everything we do is contagious. Everybody eventually jumps on to what we doing. Now, we don't benefit from it. We don't own it. All that shit is true. But the reality of it is of creating it and everybody else adapting to it, we always do that.
That means the opportunity remains. How we go about seizing it, that's our deficiency.
But it's just twofold conversation. We have the ability to create and invent and inspire. We have all those abilities.
Sure.
Right? Hence, and I think that goes back to the conversation Uncle Walter was having. It's like, what species are you? Are you a human or are you humankind? And I know that's a nuanced conversation as well, right? But we have that ability to inspire, and we are the closest thing to the origin of man. So,
truth.
that's one thing. But we have to acknowledge the truth of, at least in the last, I don't even know how many hundreds of years, we've not controlled that energy either. Right? We've not owned that energy. We've not owned those creations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you don't own those creations, if you don't own that energy, even though you create the energy, if you don't own it and control it, it could be manipulated any way whoever owns it and controls it wants to manipulate it.
100%.
You know? So we cannot doubt that hip-hop was created and it inspired in a powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can look at it and say it's being used and leveraged in a not so powerful way.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, yeah, Barack has that glow. He has that black human being glow.
He does.
It is what it is. You can't take that away from him, you know? And it's infectious. It is. And
he got that sauce, fam.
He got the sauce.
He got the sauce, man. We was talking about juice and sauce yesterday.
He got it.
He got it.
Hands down, right? He's a handsome guy. He's an
is.
extraordinary orator. He's brilliant too. Like, I'm not taking nothing from him.
100%.
But with all that being said, he's a fucking puppet of a system.
For sure.
And the system is what the sickness is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, I got all these superpowers, but I'm using all my superpowers to be a fucking villain.
He's the host of the show.
Absolutely.
He's hosting the awards. But you watch any fucking awards, yeah, you see Chris Rock or Kevin Hart, and they orchestrating this thing. Motherfuckers, this show is getting ran behind the curtain. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's what you don't see that's controlling all this motherfucking show.
Go.
Right? It's the shit that he's reading in that little fucking teleprompter.
That's right. And dude just tap dance.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
That's what's happening. Now, is he great at doing it? Masterful, right? And again, we're in this time, and it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? You got to pull the veil off and find out where the fuck Richard Pryor's at. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
So we're in that moment in time where I think we're still kind of mesmerized by the veil, though, right? So, which is why, even though I just brought it up in the conversation, hey man, you notice how, you know, we don't hear from Biden. You notice how the last thing we heard about him was he sprained his ankle. You notice this, but we hearing from Barack Obama every goddamn day, right? Mm-hmm. So how many people are thinking in that capacity? How many people are asking that question? Like, damn, where's dude? Where's Joe? Where's Uncle Joe? You know what I mean? Where's he at? And why are we getting all this overdose of Barry? You know what I mean? And it's Barry because Joe doesn't have what Barry has. He's not infectious. He doesn't have the charisma. He's not going to get people to move based on his word.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And in regards to like the vaccinations in general, you know, black people are scary anyway. Right? We're not really trusting in the system because we've been victimized by it so many times.
Yeah.
Right. So when you start hearing those questions and concerns about, man, what you mean vaccination?
Yeah.
It comes from our community because we have an ingrained distrust of America, which we should.
We're skeptical of GP of anything you say.
Yeah, which we should.
It's well earned.
It's well earned, right? And who knows, right? That vaccination. I saw somebody today on Facebook was like, you know, all y'all talking about y'all not gonna take the vaccination, but y'all eating Flaming Hots out the corner store. Y'all eat, you know, all the terrible foods that we eat and the shit that we take over the counter.
Say what?
And he
make it make sense.
But he's right though, because we do eat shit mystery meat. We don't know what it is.
100%, but make that make sense.
But here's where there's the disconnect.
Correlation is what I'm saying.
Right. The disconnect is that traditionally, you know, the American government specifically has created energies and environments where trusting them from a black perspective would be insanity.
It would be reckless. It would be damn near suicidal.
Yeah, it would be insanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we cannot deny that, you know, I know people who died of COVID.
100%.
You know, whether man-made or not,
100%.
whether it be organic or not, I know people who have died from it.
100%.
You know, I've had friends who's overcome it, but they definitely was suffering through it.
100%.
You know, by the grace of God, I've not had to experience that. My children haven't had to experience that. My wife hasn't had to experience that. Nobody directly connected to my family has experienced that, not in that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm appreciative, but I do know people who have died from that shit.
For sure.
So it creates this kind of conundrum where it's like, you know, what the fuck? Right? Every time, you know, look, and I know people don't really deal with astrology like that, but one of the things in a Leo health chart or an astrology chart is that our health is shitty. You know what I mean? And you see me hobbling in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I make jokes of the shit, but you know me for real. Like, I'm a much more active dude than most of the people we know.
100%.
You know what I mean? And for me to exercise in the way that I exercise, it's not reflective in my health.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And part of that is part of that lifestyle because of that reason. Like, I be fucked up, so I gotta keep going. You know what I mean? I'm living like a lion for real instead of a lamb for a day. You know what I mean? And I be worried about that shit subconsciously. You know what I mean? You also know my real truth. Like, I'm the last surviving member of my family, and all them died over health reasons.
That has to.
You know what I'm saying? That ain't no shit that I take lightly.
That has to sit in your brain.
Right. It's not no shit that I take lightly. Like, making it to 44 is a big deal. When my siblings didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm conscious of all that shit. But it's a real conundrum because I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that piece either. I also don't know. That's not my experience. I can't even fathom that piece. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mother, father, sibling, like to be the last remaining member. I can't even fathom at such a young age. It's one thing you hear that like, oh yeah, I'm the last person in my family, but you're 97. Of course, you're the last person in your family. You know what I'm saying? To be 44 and that be your reality and have been for years, that I can't even put myself in that space. What I will say in terms of just, being intentional about trying to be better about ourselves. All the men in my family, most of them, passed away from like kidney failure, right? Liver disease, just like, and so my mom has always been on me about like not like drinking pop, right? Don't drink a lot of pop when we was a kid, right? And to this day, I don't drink a lot of pop. I don't really, it ain't my thing, right? It don't really quench my thirst. It makes me thirstier. It ain't really my thing. But liquor is, right? I do like to have a cocktail, right? I'm drinking coffee today before y'all even start the shit with the red cup.
You're drinking coffee.
Yeah, I am drinking coffee. Let's go. But that being said, even though I know the history of my family, right? You would think that would be like, yo, don't ever fucking drink. I still don't make that decision, right? I still don't make that decision to do what's best for my long-term health. And, trying to get into a better routine, a better practice, a better discipline with that, it's cool. But I need to get into a better routine, a better discipline, a better practice with a lot of shit, right? I came on the show, with my panties in a bunch about just trying to deal with shit, right? Trying to balance and juggle shit. But you and I both know that, I don't know, a couple months ago maybe, we had a conversation about me, right? And you was like, yeah, bro, I get it. I see you and I understand it. But you probably want to move like this. You probably want to manage this situation in this particular way. And I was like,
yeah, fuck that.
I was like, you know what, too?
Listen to two. He's so wise.
He is, right? He is. And I was like, you know what, too? You're absolutely right. I'm still gonna go this way. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm gonna try it this way. And 2 months later, I'm like, yo, bro, that shit you said 2 months ago, dead on. You was on point. I should have fucking listened. I didn't fucking listen. And now it's like, where is the fucking Advil or Aleve? Like, I need some shit. And so we just gotta be more intentional. And I don't know how the fuck I went down this fucking rabbit hole when we were talking about Barack and Joe Biden. I will say this about that piece though. I want to ask you this question anyway. Do you think that's gonna change when he's actually in the Oval Office? Do you think that he'll be the person pulling the strings? Do you think he'll be more visible then? Because I think he's gonna be a relatively silent and invisible president.
I think he's old as hell. I think he's gonna die.
Before his 4 years?
No, that's not the right thing to say. But I think Kamala Harris is going to be the first female president.
No onions and extra tomatoes on my salad, please, Adrian, and I'm with you.
And I think that she lacks first of all, she lacks the charisma that Obama has, but she has the image of that she, it's kind of like, it's the copy, right? It's the carbon copy. The copy is never as good as the original. You know what I mean? But I think that they have to find a way to inspire the masses for whatever direction the country wants to go in, whether it be health or whether it just be for manipulation. You still got to be able to. That's why magic it works so good, right? The motherfucking magician is a showman,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Right. He's a fucking showman. Right. If he just did the trick without no personality attached to the shit, you figure the shit out. But he's a showman. You know what I mean? So you got to be a showman and. You got to be what's that? All the world's a stage, and every performer plays their part. She's just not the right performer for the part, but they have to groom her for it because I don't think Biden got it. Right? And we are in a tumultuous time. And in a tumultuous time, you need a fucking fabulous performer.
You do.
That's what it is.
You do.
Right?
And who's the best? Who's the best one they got?
The best one they got up to date is Barack, which is why they put his ass in the game. They put him off the bench to get in the game.
What they wanted was Michelle, right? They wanted Michelle Obama to be on that ticket. Michelle ain't never wanted shit to do with y'all White House. She didn't want Barack's White House. She didn't want the second term. She don't want y'all. She like nigga.
Oh, she wanted the White House. She wanted the White House from
Y'all
the position.
think so?
She wanted the White House from the position in which she had it in. And be clear, like
Y'all think so?
I know the Obamas, like
Okay.
in real life.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I've worked for both of them, and I'm a Chicago dude for real, like ingrained into the city. They ain't never been the people that the country makes them out to be. Like in the city, they were not beloved like that. Most motherfuckers can't stand. I know most people wouldn't admit to this shit in the city of Chicago. But most people who have had an interaction with Michelle Obama in the city of Chicago do not like Michelle Obama. Right? There's a great disdain for Michelle Obama in this city.
Black people?
Black people.
Okay.
Right? You could, if you go back to the University of Chicago when she was there and you ask anybody about that situation, like, you know, I made a joke last time I saw Barack and he was running for president. He was in the barbershop. My son and my wife, you know, they geek, they not me, they, ooh, the president. I want to meet the president. Go in there, you know, I say, hey man, you still owe my daddy some money. I'm being funny, you know what I mean? But it's the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Michelle shitted on a whole lot of people over there at the University of Chicago. A lot of black people lost jobs.
The history
attached
of
to Michelle
UFC
Obama.
is just negative to the black community in general.
Yeah, it
They're
is.
trying
what
to
it
turn
is.
some shit around, but they got a lot of digging. That's a deep hole they in with black.
But again, somebody on here the other day was like, you know, my sister was once my child to go to their niece or their nephew. I don't know who it was and how they made it, what the connection to the family was. But they want their nephew or somebody to go to Ivy League schools. Like black colleges was out of the question. When you think about them black people that go to Ivy League, that shit is dangerous, bro. Right? It changes you. Just like anything changes you. Anything you allow into your body, we're talking about health. Any food you allow into your body has an effect on your body. Right? 100%. Any messaging that you allow into your body has an effect on your mind. It is what it is.
Your diet is your diet.
Your diet is your diet, one way or the other, right? And if you have it set in your mind where you're aspiring to a Harvard, if you have it in your mind where you're aspiring to a Yale, there's an energy attached to those schools. So you're already attached to the idea of this elitist white world. You're attached to that idea if you want to go there.
Yeah.
Just by the sheer fact of, I'm interested in that.
You are the absolute most attached to that.
You're the most attached to that idea. So whether the fuck you from Woodlawn, whether the fuck you from Connecticut, the idea is what you're attached to. I want to be a part of this elitist community. So to say that she didn't want to be a part of that Obama, that Obama White House is foolish. She just wanted it from the position that she had it in.
Okay, I'll accept that. I think that she was Barack's hood pass. Like I think that because Michelle is from the South Side for real, because Michelle is a product of Chicago Public Schools, she was his hood pass. She was his inroads into the black community in a way that nothing from his own past could have allowed him access into. And I think that in that same vein, they wanted her on this Joe Biden ticket.
I'm gonna push back again.
Okay, because you're the pushback king.
But listen, no, and this is the pushback. These are the kind of conversations we need to fucking have. And it goes to the video I want to play, right? I asked you a couple weeks ago. I said, what's the word for when a man hates a woman?
I'd say it's misogyny.
Misogyny, right? That's the word. When men hate women, it's misogyny, right? And then I double back and what's the other question? What's the very next question I asked you?
She said, what's the word when women hate men?
And you was like, there's a word for that?
Yeah, I don't fucking
You know that word? Nobody knows that fucking word.
I could never hate men.
It's like the word don't fucking exist, though. So, like, it's like the possibility
like
can't
it don't
exist.
happen.
It's like the possibility can't fucking exist.
Right.
Right? The word is misandry.
Right.
Right? Now, check this out, though.
Right.
And this is where this shit gets interesting. So, yeah, Michelle becomes Barack's hood pass. Right? In the hood where motherfuckers who know Michelle didn't even fucking like Michelle.
Right.
Right? But she became the hood pass for him nationally. Because black women validate your fucking existence, your humanity. Right? Now, we got that shit in reverse. Kamala Harris has a white husband.
and white adopted children. And she don't have no hood pass either. This motherfucker's from India, and she ain't from Oakland like she say. It ain't the town that she from. Right. But she doesn't have that same hood pass because her humanity is already validated. So her blackness is validated by the sheer fact that she's has some melanin. Right. But imagine, and I just said openly that I think Barack is an amazing character. I don't fuck with his politics, but you can't deny he's a fucking amazing character.
It's tough to beat.
Right? If he had a white wife, that man would have got his ass stumped in the ground.
Point blank, period. He needed Michelle the same way as he needed Joe Biden.
Would have got his ass stumped in the ground because if he had a white wife, they would have never validated his humanity. Fuck, dude. Right? Now let's put this shit in real perspective. Right?
Then we got to hit this break.
Let's put this shit in real perspective. This is the first black president of the United States of America. Right?
That was Bill Clinton.
Motherfucker's handsome. Motherfucker's brilliant. Motherfucker got swag. This motherfucker's the genuine article, man. You couldn't have created this like the creative play on 2K.
Both sides.
Yeah, this motherfucker's like, you created this game.
99
he was
across
born
the
to
board.
be a champion. You know what I'm saying?
He's 99 across the board.
He's 99 across the fucking board. Right? In the last 15, 20 years of his public life, have you ever heard any black woman come out and say, I used to be with Barack? Motherfucker Jay-Z can't keep that shit that clean. Think about that.
Good point.
You ain't never heard it.
Good point. What'd you say, Esco?
But he married a black woman, so.
He married a black woman?
Yeah, but
that's kind of my point.
Right.
Where are this motherfucker? Hey, if you black, you got swag. You brilliant.
You're the president of the United States.
You're brilliant. You done got some box on your way to wherever you was going. Right? Your ass could have been working at the food line on 43rd Street. You was going to get some action.
Right.
You are the genuine article.
Right.
Ain't nobody ever came out of no way and said, hey, I used to date Barack Obama.
It ain't a Keisha nowhere.
It ain't a Keisha nowhere that man passed.
My mom has a picture of Barack Obama and Johnny Mathis.
Where is Keisha? Keisha, call me. I want to hear from you. Anytime.
You know they bury a lot of stuff before you decide to run.
There ain't nobody that fucking good. Nobody that good.
We know who Beyonce's last boyfriend was.
We know about Monica Lewinsky.
We do know about Monica.
Right? If they hated Barack, which we know there is a contingency that legitimately hates his presence. Right?
How much does it cost to deny I was with you? That's a good question.
Listen, his presence created Trump. Let's keep it a buck. He bought out 70 million. His presence, let's be honest, he bought out the largest voting electorate in the history of America. His presence created Trump.
Sure.
His presence ignited this racist energy in the way that we're seeing it now. You think that energy ain't got somebody on that team that could dig up something in your past to shit on you?
Yeah.
Because they found, they hated Bill too. That's crazy. They hated Bill Clinton. And as soon as they had Monica Lewinsky, they threw that card on the table.
You saying there ain't no black box in this history? We gotta take a break, man. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into the boxes of Barack Obama. And we're gonna play that video that you want to get into the conversation. This is I Said What I Said. Herb Howard, Tucson, 1 here with you till 6. We'll be right back.
WIFTBPM.
It's the bigs. Chicago great, Simeon legend, University of Illini legend. ILL, baby! Man, flying Illini, man. That's a Dick Vitale. I don't think he could have stated it any better. NBA great. It's always great to have a Chicago basketball icon, hoop legend. The one and only Nick Anderson in the building. Nick, how you feeling, brother?
What's going on, fellas? From that day I got drafted till we are sitting here in front of each other today, I'm thankful and I'm grateful that my mom has never worked another day in her life. People don't know. I can remember the conversations that me and Benji used to have all the time, that we were going to buy our mom a big house and a pretty car. It was so unfortunate that he wasn't here to live out that dream, but I lived out the dream for me and him. As you know, Benji wore number 25. I wore number 25 my entire college career and my entire NBA career because of Benji. You think about out all the guys that came out of Simeon.
Yeah.
And went down to the U of I that wore number 25 after me at the University of Illinois.
Yep.
And then you have to give love to Newt, Juwan Howard.
Yep.
He wore number 25 at Michigan. We carry that name on. That legacy is still being carried today.
It is.
It absolutely is. You see D Rose wearing 25 now. It's special. That means something to me. And that's something I will always carry with me.
The guys at Simeon that wear 25, all of the guys at Illinois, Deion Thomas, Brian Notary, all of those guys up until now. And like you said, in the league, we see Kendrick Nunn. Jabari had number 25 stitched in his shoes when he played for the Bulls.
Yes, sir.
It's a Chicago thing, man. I feel like we wear Benji, however we can represent Ben Wilson, we do it. I remember Common, one of his famous albums, I think it was One Day of the Law Makes Sense or something, and he had a whole 4 bars about Ben Wilson, and it kind of just took me back. It's like anytime you hear a new Ben Wilson story, or anytime you hear the name Ben Wilson, it just resonates like none other. So I'm glad that you were able to, start that whole, and I don't even want to call it a trend, because it's definitely more than a trend,
Oh, exactly. You just carry on one of the greats, one of the special ones. He will always be talked about. He will always be brought up in conversations somehow, some way. And because he was special. He was just a special guy, not only basketball-wise, but a human being. He was just a special dude. I still remember what I was doing and where I was at that day all that went down. I remember it like it happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't forget it.
Being outside, like across the street at the candy store or something when all of that went down.
Yeah, man, I remember it just like it was yesterday. And, the way how dark it got in a few seconds, it was, just to think about it, man, it just brings a dark cloud over your head.
That's very presidential, Esco. It's very presidential music. That's why you are the absolute best. I love you to death, girl. You make shit happen around this camp.
I love too.
Salute! This camp is What's in It for the Black People Media. This show is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb Howard. My co-host is Toussaint Warner. Y'all is the fam, and we appreciate y'all for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, for offering y'all's vast input, knowledge, and information to the conversation. We appreciate it. We truly, truly do. Want to play a video for y'all, but we might push it back to the top of the next hour because this conversation is quite interesting. There was a couple comments that we jumped into over the break that stuck out to you. Any of you want to jump into?
Excuse me. There's a few. I'm trying to find the names that I could attach to the questions, but I know for a fact there were certain ones that said, one said that Barack was lame in the 80s. And I'm sorry, I've been moving. This is moving kind of fast, but I can't attach them.
I don't remember who it was. I know it was one of the sisters, but she was
all these comments came from sisters, right? And I think it was Beulah that said, a lot of women are attracted to intellectuals. Then Beulah says, in this one, she says,
there's a lot of sapiosexuals out here. Beulah.
Power is attractive in hindsight, but I could see women sleeping on Barack. Michelle was smart. She saw his potential before he blew. Let me tell you something, man. It's always very interesting to hear women's perspective of women's behaviors, right? There's a huge assumption to how shit go. You know what I mean? I don't know nobody.
Get your popcorn ready.
I don't know nobody who wants some action that can't get some action.
That's true,
right? And I don't care what packaging they come in. You know what I mean? I got the pretty friends. And I'm speaking from a male perspective.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I got the pretty friends. I got the grimy friends. I got, my friends, they span the gamut.
Yeah.
All of them get the action they want too. It's just not random action. Right? They get the action. And it's been that way since I've known.
Yeah.
Right? If you're Barack Obama, you went to Harvard, my G.
Box is readily available for Barack.
It's readily available
in
to
the
him.
80s.
You could have had a Honda with a hole in the floor and started like a Flintstone car. Box would still be readily available to that
A
man.
nigga proposed to a chick on CTA last week.
It's readily available, G.
He's not the president.
And he was drunk.
And he didn't go
and
to
that's
Harvard.
CTA. But what I'm saying is this man has Hawaii, Harvard, Kansas, Indonesia, all that in his background. He's cultured. He's well-spoken. He's attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no Box ain't turning that down. We have this illusion of, I don't know, we create this mythical illusion of what the fuck happens. I know I know broke dudes who did hit NBA players' wives in their grandmama's basement.
Tell the truth.
Come on, G.
These are facts.
Come on, G.
These are facts.
Why this man was in the NBA,
These are
you're
facts.
traveling to this other man's grandma's basement to get beat down.
We both know this. These are facts.
Come on, G. Stop making this elusive idea that this
Did
box.
he look good?
He's a handsome
Nice
guy.
looking guy.
Okay.
Nice looking guy.
Makes sense.
Swag. But the point is,
The
though,
point I'm making is that all that shit is illusionary to me.
Yeah.
It's all available.
yeah,
It's all available.
yeah.
Right? So these mythical ass, well, he wasn't the guy in that. Man, bullshit. Somebody like that man.
Howard Trout say European American boxers is all he wanted, right? And that's not to say again that because he, is smart and intelligent and handsome and swaggy and Harvard that anybody he walks past panties are gonna melt off, right? Not saying that. This idea that he can't get box that he's in pursuit of,
That's a foolish idea.
that's not real.
That's not real.
That's just.
Right. So I want to dispel all the women in the comments talking about why he probably wasn't getting no action. Unless he was a homosexual, he could get some box.
He can get some.
Period. It's readily available to him.
It just is what it is.
What was that?
I've never felt that. I've never felt there was like box like out of my league, right? Like whether I wanted it or not. If I did, I was never like, yo, I can't pull that. Fuck yes, I can, right? And I wasn't gonna be nobody's president. I didn't go to Harvard.
Figured out the right lie yet.
It is what it is, man. That's all I'm saying is the point we were trying to make is that if Barack was making inroads into the black box community his entire life, there'd be receipts.
It'd be receipts.
There'd be receipts. That's all we're saying. Y'all know how black women keep receipts. There would be receipts of his dives into the black box. Excuse me. Ooh, coffee. That's all we're saying.
That's it. It would be there.
That's it.
There would be Akeisha somewhere. Right?
She'd be there.
She'd be there.
She'd be there.
Right?
Especially in the Chi fam.
In the 80s, G, when light skin was in?
Stop it. Stop it.
Playing, man.
Stop
Albie
it.
Shue was still on the radio and
Stop
shit. Boy, you better quit.
Stop
You better
it.
quit. And he got a job.
Right.
Fuck out of here.
Exactly. Right?
Wait. And he came to Chicago from New York.
Right.
You in New York? Everybody poor G. Nobody has no expectations in New York. Like, come on.
What Kanye say in that old verse? He say something about I had a car back when if you had a car, you was the Chi-Town version of Baby. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
true.
you was rich as hell just if you had a car.
Let me tell you something.
Let
man.
me test your word. Let me test your word. Hey, I heard you on the remix, Ron. You out
Right.
here? Thanks for dropping the remix, bro.
Yeah. So that I want to dispel that theory all the way around, man. The man went to the Gardens, G. He celebrated in the Gardens for being Barack the community organizer. When he goes to the Gardens, I got family, my family is all through Argyle Gardens, right?
Yeah.
When he goes to the Gardens as a Harvard graduate
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s, that's employed,
The Gardens. Whew.
right? This wielding a level of intellect
Memories.
and power.
Yeah.
That man looks like Jesus.
Of course.
He looks like an anomaly to that community. It's like being the new dude in high school or the new dude in grammar school.
Right.
At least for the first month, everybody's interested.
You that dude.
You that guy.
You that dude. Right.
You that guy.
Yeah.
And if you want to pull the trigger on anything, it's readily available.
You can pull it.
You can pull it.
You can pull it.
You can pull it.
We was talking about one of my brothers yesterday. Shout out to Matt. When he came to our school in 7th to 8th grade, and I went to grammar school where everybody had went there pretty much since at least first grade.
I can't move past this comment. It's driving
Come
me
on,
crazy.
jump on it.
Antoine
We hit the
Duvalin
break.
says every sister doesn't kiss and tell. This is the president of the United States of America. You would get a tattoo that said, I beat down the president of the United States of America. It'd be on your forehead. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear that shit. You would have a t-shirt to say, I nailed Barack. Fuck out of here, man. Who y'all think y'all talking to?
That's a fact. Have you ever seen that meme? It's a picture. It's these two white girls at a hockey game, a professional NHL hockey game. And they got a sign. It says, "Hey, number 19, remember us? We sucked your dick in high school." It's a sign. They at the damn NHL hockey game, right? Like once a person reaches a certain level, you telling somebody, G. You're not gonna walk around like, yeah, I'm like Barack Obama. I'm gonna keep that in my bag.
You ever seen that NBA picture where Steph is on the court, Aisha Curry's
Shorty,
in the first row, and Shorty's in the front row, like, please come get this box.
Shorty like, yo,
it's a random photograph that somebody caught. It's like, yeah, come on, man.
I know that look.
Y'all making up. Y'all live in a different world than I live in, apparently.
It is what it is. They don't live in a different world. They know full well, like, girls that just be popping off shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. Every girl you know that hit the top basketball, football player at your college, hell, at your high school, they was telling.
Look, I know people that Jay-Z didn't hit. I know people that R. Kelly didn't hit. I know people that, Dr. Dre, Kanye. I don't know all them people, but I know they hit these women. Well, how do I know that?
Dr. King?
Right. We know who Dr. King was.
His black boxes get out. Barack's boxes ain't getting out. We're going to break, man.
And I said it got to be public knowledge, but I've not even heard the rumor.
I wouldn't say two of my people wouldn't know if we did. I am Stephanie.
So, like, somebody wrote in the comments, like, Bill Clinton was rumored to have a black son in Arkansas, and everybody knew. I've heard that rumor, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's true or not. What I'm saying is you don't even hear the rumors about Barack. There should be a rumor about Keisha somewhere.
That's all we're saying.
That's it.
That's all we're saying, people. Got to take a break. When we come back from break, Tucson has a video that he wants y'all to see. A little bit long. Bear with us. We'll play the video. We'll have the conversation on the other side of this break.
WIFTVPM.
You're listening to I Said What I Said with Tucson Warner and Herb Howard.
We have a very, very special guest, man, joining us on today's show.
Walter Beach, he's my godfather and one of two of the dopest black men I've met in my entire life.
This is how I always introduce myself. I'm black in attitude, I'm black in behavior, I'm black in belief and thought, and I'm African in spirit. I accept and acknowledge the fact of my African self being intuitively and have developed the cognitive strength to function as a black man in America. As an African black man, my hypocrisy manifests as silent rage. I must decide what my relationship to racism will be. Only I can say when and where I enter my manhood with quiet, undisputed dignity, without violence or special patronage, asking no quarters and giving no quarters. When and where I enter, I take with me my people. That's what the sovereignty that Tucson was talking about means to me. I'm a sovereign human being. And like he was talking about in that point that we made in Amistad when we was talking about all of our species demands to be free. They may not have the power to prevent it, but they just demands it. And that's what they do. That's what the struggle is about.
WIFTVPM.
Love. I want a love that heals every bruise, every scar, every heartache. Love me like your life depended on it. Love me like my heart holds the antidote to every ailment in your soul. Love is an action, a verb, a responsibility. The act of placing another's heart inside your hands and guarding it fiercely. Freeing, healing, liberating. It's protection from life's cold.
warms the soul, refreshes the spirit, rejuvenates the mind. Love me authentically. I want to be loved like every day is our last, every moment our anniversary, every kiss just like the first. A love that doesn't hurt. I want to rise in love, freeing my soul, allowing my vulnerability to show, without fear of rejection and judgment. Love me. Give your heart to me. This is my love manifesto.
Yo, Esco, that's a vibe right there. I want you to know this though, right? These cameras are on these robots. I could flip that camera right into the production studio. While you be back there doing all that wilding you doing, I'm just gonna flip this whole thing around and put you right on there on commercial break. Cause you be having the whole Esco concert back there, and I'll be feeling it. Alvin said, "Why don't you jack it up too?"
No, I'm cool.
Get the house music jumping.
Get the house.
No chance. I ain't gonna see me. I gotta have at least 3 cocktails today. So I better take this chair bop and be cool. Listen, we got a video that you want to play. You want to intro?
No, he said, Reverend Hubbard said, let's be honest. It's no way Rahm Emanuel was a straight man. Is that what he said there?
Yo,
I can't put my thumb on that one.
Hey, I know Rahm in real life.
He can't put his ring finger on it.
Hey, Rahm a gangster. Don't confuse it, G. Rahm is a
100%.
real
Who do you think shot Obama?
100% he's a gangster.
Yeah, he's a gangster. So
I don't know nothing about who that man sleeping with, and I'm not particularly concerned with it. The video is coming up. Anything that you want, you want to say anything about it?
I know we kind of got off topic, but when we intro the show, and this wasn't like the goal of the number, we started talking about misandry, and I think this conversation is necessary and viable. Specifically when we talk about, we talked about just the vaccinations and how black men are kind of the lone ranger on not rocking with the Kamala influence, and how we leveraging the impact of Barack or the image of Barack and how that shit is being leveraged. I just want us to get to learn more about misandry.
Rope D is generally
I think it's
the best.
important in our conversation. So I'm ready to rock into it whenever you're ready.
All right, go ahead, play it, my brother.
38. I decided that we needed to create a new field. All right. So I am trying diligently to create a field of study for black men and boys that I call Black Male Studies. And I created this by accident. Black Male Studies started off as an academic argument. I thought I was making an intervention into history by just trying to show people that black men were victims of rape during slavery and Jim Crow. And it was just that. It was only that. Just an academic argument. Until I started actually meeting black men who were victims of rape. Who were raped by their mother's friends, teenage girls, or other men who lived in their own neighborhoods. Your whole life changes when you hear grown black men holding back tears or speaking through the pain of physical, sexual, or domestic abuse at the hands of black men and women who should have loved them, cared for them, or at the most basic level, not harmed them. But what theories do we have to explain this? What theories do we have to understand how black men and boys suffer? We often ignore the vulnerability of black men and boys in this society. We consume so many images of black males as dead flesh, as corpse lying in the street, that we become numb to all the factors in society that dehumanize black men and boys before their death. Since the dawn of slavery and throughout colonization, black men and boys have suffered horrible sexual violences and mutilation. We imagine lynchings, but can we imagine the rape of young black men by white men who chain these black boys to their beds? Or white women who rape the most brutalized and isolated slaves for their own sexual pleasure? A history of America as a British colony was mired in sexual exploitation and violence. And we accept this when we think about black female bodies. But we resist this. We deny that it's even possible when we talk about black men. Throughout history, racialized males have been the victims of homoerotics of white supremacy. We hear of young black boys who are raped by white women. We hear of young black boys raped by white men with clothes hangers. We hear of young black boys like Darren Manning, whose testicles was squeezed so hard by a female police officer that he swears that he heard an audible pop. Or in my field, you have to exist in a world with white women philosophers who rape disabled black boys and claim it was because they were in love with them. We should understand, like Baldwin illustrates in his short story, Going to Meet the Man, that racism is a carnal hatred. It's a sexual hatred. And that we've been mistaken and short-sighted in our denial of this kind of violence towards black males. When I was 6 years old, the first gunshot that I heard woke me from my sleep. It was a shot fired by a black woman who lived 2 or 3 blocks away from my home. She killed her husband because she believed that her husband had been cheating on her. My mother told me that the man was innocent, that this was wrong, that he didn't deserve to die. But I've been haunted by the sound of this gunshot since I was a small child. Imagine if we believed that black men were actually human beings that could be harmed by other people and not just bullets. Could we imagine a world where black men were victims of domestic violence and intimate partner homicide without saying that they weren't the cause of their own deaths? What would it mean to imagine black men as human beings? Black men and boys experience some of the harshest social conditions of any group in the United States. Despite their trauma, their witnessing of or their experience of violence, black males are only classed as perpetrators of violence. In The Mark of Oppression by Vesey and Cardinier, 2 white psychoanalysts committed to understanding sexuality in the Negro in the 1950s, they suggested that black boys have little use for masturbation, which usually started around the age of 6 for white boys, because black boys often lost their virginities between the ages of 7 and 9 to usually much older adolescent girls. Because of hypersexualization, we are often blinded to the sexual vulnerability of black males. So the fact that black boys experience statutory rape, sexual coercion, sexual manipulation more than any other group of males not only goes ignored, but is often adamantly denied anytime it's discussed. The vulnerability of black men and boys, the vulnerability that they have to physical abuse at the hands of their mothers and their fathers, it remains invisible. Even though they often receive the most severe forms of abuse when compared to their female counterparts. Think about that. Nobody sees it. When they're sexually abused by older women, we claim that it did no harm to them. We say, despite their tears as grown men, that they actually wanted this sexual assault as young boys. So while we may disown racist caricatures of black men and boys as super predators, we simultaneously imagine them as voids, vacuous figures that we're fine not knowing about. We don't care about how they suffer during their lives, but we love performing outrage at their deaths. Black men are coping with a very public and deliberate strategy to crucify them in America. These negations of black male life cause depression, it causes stress, and poor health outcomes. That's why we die so early. Even when black men suffer depression, it can actually be masked by a high-level coping strategy that's often called John Henryism, whereby these men use work and an exhaustive dedication to specific goals to cope with the psychological and cultural assaults associated with their racial and sexual oppression. Those old black men who just sit on the steps, they don't say anything. They die before everyone else. Jim Sidanius is one of the leading scholars in social dominance theory. What his research has shown is that black men, as well as other outgroup men in Western patriarchal societies, are targets of lethal violence and extermination by dominant racial groups. This is a particular and unique type of oppression for racialized men that we often don't discuss. So then when we think of incarceration and police brutality, we're talking about strategies that have been cultivated in stereotypes that are propped up by cultures that rationalize black males as being dangerous from birth. So studies looking at the perceived formidability of black males have not only shown that black men are thought to be more dangerous and aggressive and larger, and even that black male-sounding names trigger the survival instincts of whites, but even that preschool-age black boys are tracked by their teachers' eyes more than any other group, even their black female counterparts. So said differently, black men are thought to be undesirable and perceived as threats from as early as preschool. But then we ask, how do black men live in a world that's so committed to their deaths? As scholars and thinkers, we have not yet begun to understand the relationship between life and death for black men. How do black men think of their death? Is it in fact, a welcomed escape from this world? Do they live with the idea that they're in fact dying before us? Do we even know enough to understand what we do not know about black men and boys? That's why I created Black Male Studies. Because Black Male Studies is an attempt to understand the racial and sexual oppression of black men and boys as a form of dehumanization. A living death, so to speak, that precedes their physical deaths, which we pay so much attention to. Before we can solve the problems confronting black men and boys, we must first ask the right questions. Can we as scholars, as thinkers, as non-white people who claim that we're anti-racist but are still afraid of black men, right? Can we imagine them as being vulnerable? Can our gender theories become driven by empirical and verifiable data where our efforts to study black men and boys become rigorous rather than merely our phobias of them pretending to be theory? Right? So what Black Male Studies is trying to do, what Black Male Studies does, is it refuses the pathologization of black men and boys as theoretical advance. And it proposes, imagine this, it proposes the empirically informed accounts of black male life. Its indisputable value as the basis to condemn and actually object to black male death. Thank you.
That was Dr. Tommy Curry speaking on the black male experience and the ability to be vulnerable or be seen as such. Think on it. We'll speak on it right after this. Shout out to the Bigs. They just wrapped up another edition of On the Soil. They talked to Eric Davis. I didn't know that brother was like all that cold. I didn't either. You know, Gino is the baseball expert, right? So whatever he say, that's how I'm rolling. So just hearing how he's been talking about him since they actually scheduled that interview made me like looking like, how cold was this dude? It's legit.
Shout out to Don for the guest. Look.
Yeah, Don is the deal, G.
Guest look is outrageous.
Don is the plug.
Fellas, I'm ready to get up and do my thing.
She is the plug.
Don is dead at the plug.
Gino and May. Why are we being left out over here?
Well, that's not really true.
Okay, well, break it down for me.
Oh, a wise guy, eh?
What she do? She set us up with Scoop.
Okay.
I've had Scoop's number for a while.
Salute.
But even like I'm associated with, Don is like, boom. You know what I'm saying? So I be like, hey, let's get you on the show sometime. I'm like, yeah, let's set it up. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it. We'll do it. Don like, hey, yo, I need you on the show tomorrow. And he's like, okay.
Sit your $5 down before I make change.
Like, it's different. It's different with the big little sis, man.
The last of the Gambinos or something.
For real. She about that action. So shout out to Don, man. Shout out to the Book of Dark.
WIIFTBPM.
Boys, step aside. The Radio Rookie is in the building. The Book of Dawn, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on What's In It for the Black People Media.
Maze Jackson.
If you could make up a social media holiday, what would it be?
Randy said National Don't Let No One Put You Down Day.
No one. What you gonna do? So when they say something crazy, slap them.
Be like Maze said. Randy said said a Jukathon day.
Man, we about 60 years old. I be done had a heart.
You gotta get your heart rate up.
Okay, not that far.
All right, Mario said my favorite one. My friends and I do what we call National Call Off from Work Day.
As a business owner, I don't.
You don't like that, yeah.
I don't like that.
Because I'm the boss of this family.
We got Marcus Garvey Day from Remy too.
Oh, Marcus Garvey Day. All right, what will we do on Marcus Garvey Day?
Call off from work.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. That would be great. Okay?
Yeah, right.
Well, every black holiday has something to do with calling off from work.
You're cool. I'm out.
About National Join a Positive Black Organization Day, because I don't want to be recruiting. I don't want to be recruiting and the brothers be like, thank you. Thank you. How about National Tell White People the Truth Day? Tell them how you really feel.
You can't handle the truth.
Why don't we call that National Black People Get Locked Up Day?
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Hello.
The most dangerous show in the morning.
Welcome back. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. This is I Said What I Said alongside Tucson Warner. My name is Herb Howard, doing all of the work, making us sound as good as possible. It's Sonia Escobar in the production studio. Just got done watching the video from Dr. Tommy Curry. Heavy is how I would describe it. Heavy. And, I certainly don't want to say hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all, watched it and got something from it. I read through some of the comments over the break, and I think y'all felt it the same way. It was heavy, right? This ability to not be seen as vulnerable, as though we somehow have this impenetrable armor, right? Like we can't be harmed. If we ain't getting shot dead, then everything's cool with us, right? Like we don't have the humanity. Well, that's what it is, right? That's what we talk about all the time. Like we don't have the humanity to be seen just as people. Just as people that can be harmed in many ways. Physically, emotionally, mentally, right? I think that also that type of belief about us, right, is also what then allows us to never be seen as unarmed, right? We're always a threat. We're always dangerous. Regardless of whether we're armed or not. Being a black man is to walk around in a perpetual state of, one, being armed, but also having on this supposed armor that protects us from shit that we aren't protected from.
So Dr. Curry is like he next level. Like he's fucking amazing.
He's up there.
Right? He's also the author of The Man Not. It's one of the books that I suggested for the book club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an academic kind of read, but the information is beyond the scope of brilliance. But you're gonna have to study it, right? You just can't read through it. But he's the premier scholar in the field of male gender studies.
Mm-hmm.
He's the premier scholar because the shit didn't exist before he created it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that shit, right? So what's most interesting to me about that video is not that we don't or aren't allowed vulnerability. It's that it's the same thing that Scoop Jackson said when we interviewed Scoop. We aren't even seen.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seen until you die.
Right.
And he spoke about it in the video about you kind of have this balance of being the walking dead. Mm-hmm. And if you already acknowledge that you're the walking dead and that you don't, it's like the Biggie song. Think of many old still references that we have to this kind of idealism, but we don't quantify it and and speak to it until we hear it broken down in this way.
You're
But you're nobody till someone kills you was made 20 years
till
ago.
somebody.
And it was something that we all rocked and bobbed our heads to. Like that was my fucking favorite song.
At least 25 years ago.
Right? And it was speaking to the very narrative that Dr. Curry is speaking to in that video. Right? You have no value except for as a dead Negro. You know what I mean? And that plays out into all the conversations we've been having. Like even when we just talked about Barack, had he not had Michelle, I don't give a shit how dope he was. He doesn't fit the bill.
Right.
Whereas Kamala could enter into the same paradigm with the same racial aggressions
with a white man.
And she doesn't need that validation because she's seen. She validates her. He didn't validate him. Now, Michelle's dope too in her own way, but she ain't doper than him.
I feel you.
It's just the truth. It just is what it is.
And that ain't the relevant point here. So
it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just think it was a interesting segue from the intro when you talked about how you was just being pulled in so many different directions. And I talked about being the guy who gets the big piece of chicken, or what does your value equate to when you only seen as valuable when your ass is laying in the ground?
Yeah, man. What's so heavy about the thing to me is, right, it is the person that it then calls for us to be, right? So all like we sit here and talk all the time about this, masculinity shit and this toughness and this sense of just hyper awareness that you kind of have to have growing up as a black man in this country, especially talking about in a city like Chicago or a city like Detroit, New Orleans, Baltimore. Pick a place where we at. It ain't that many. The person that it requires you to be, some of which we hold as like a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I'm tough here. Yeah, I feel good in this place where other people feel dangerous, where other people feel afraid to be. Yeah, I feel perfectly fine in this situation. But that was born out of a necessity to be that. Like, and it shouldn't be necessary. I should just be able to grow and develop and be. I should just be able to be without all this extra shit that goes along with it. And then a lot of things are flipped, right? We talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, we showed the video with the stripper on the young boy, on the 4-year-old baby. If that were flipped, right? What would be the response to that then? That's a 4-year-old baby girl and a grown-ass man with his naked ass on her lap. That thing is gonna flip drastically. And it should, right? But it should also go the other way. Why is that okay for this young boy to have to experience that? When we know like hell it wouldn't be okay for a 4-year-old girl to have to experience that. It's different. And then when you hear response to,
it's different, but it's also not just different. It speaks to the fact that you don't have any humanity.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't see you in that light. We only see you in this kind of villainous manner.
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of villainous manner was created by the same paradigm that created every other black structure in this country, right? It's that lack of identity. All this shit to me falls into that lack of identity or the shaping of identity through the lens of white supremacy.
And it happens early. It happens early.
We're born into it.
I think back, exactly. In fact, who said it? I think Robin might have said it. That it starts the moment a mother gets pregnant with a male child, right? It starts happening to you then. And so it happens to you so early. I think back to like grammar school, right? And thinking back to grammar school, there was a substitute teacher named Miss Alford. Fine as shit, right? Right? Fine as shit. And all the dudes like Miss Alford. And it was okay. It was fine. It was common conversation to have at Bryn Mawr, right? But it wasn't a common conversation or an acceptable conversation to talk about the girls and the teachers that they like, the male teachers that they like. It's a different thing. And even at that young age, we understood it. You hear these stories pop out now about teachers sleeping with their students and all this. When it's a male teacher and a female student,
it's comical or
it's
rewarding.
It's ridiculous. But when it's a female teacher and a male student, it's like, shit, what the fuck we complaining about? Go ahead, bro. You're knocking down your teacher. Like, I get it, right? I get it because I grew up as a black boy, and so I understood it. I felt this fucking same way. But why?
So again, it's a lot going on in that last conversation.
Whole lot.
Right?
Whole lot.
And like the way our minds work, it's easy for us to grab a hold of one of the concepts in that conversation. And although he shaped it in this kind of gender vulnerability context, there's more than just a gender vulnerability conversation going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I hear everything you're saying, but I tend to move beyond the gender vulnerability. Even though, if you really paid attention, he said where black men or boys are victimized at a rate higher than black women. And he also said, let's start creating a world of academia where we can leverage our studies based on data rather than our pathologies of fear of black men.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just said that he's the motherfucker that kind of created this field of study, which speaks to that all these numbers that we spew and all this data that we spew and how you are afraid of black men shit is securely wrapped and based in a pathology.
That's it.
Not data.
That's it.
Right? So when you have conversations and push back on the pathology, you get the responses and you get this kind of colloquialisms of bell hooks or what Malcolm said in 63 or whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
The black woman is the most vulnerable person,
least protected
on the planet. And that's easy to spew because it's become a part of the lexicon. Because ain't nobody else even took the time to research what the fuck is going on with black boys.
Because
who the fuck cares?
Because fuck you.
Who the fuck cares?
Mm-hmm.
That's more interesting than the entirety of the rest of that conversation to me. That speaks volumes, right? I ain't gonna invest time in knowing your problems because that's how minuscule you are to me. The opposite of love is not hate.
No.
The opposite of love is indifference.
Right.
That's when you really have no value. When I could really give a fuck. I told my son the other day. I said, man, you remember I used to speak to you all the time about your coaches?
Mm-hmm.
I said, when they hollering at you, you still good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they stop hollering at you, you fucked.
Right.
I was having a conversation with him.
Yeah. I still see value in you if I'm yelling at you.
If I'm yelling at you, I'm vested. All the time. If I'm not yelling, I'm not vested no more.
Every time I would get on one of my players, later on I would go back to him like, yo, I'm getting on you because there's something that'll be pulled out. When I stop that shit, I'm convinced there's no more value in you.
There's no value.
Nothing left in you, right?
There's no value.
Fuck you. Listen, man, we got to take a break. When we come back from break, we'll dig deeper into this conversation. This is I Said What I Said. Tucson Warner, Herb Howard here with you for another hour and a half. We'll be right back.
WIFTBPM.
I have a good friend with us this morning. I'm so excited. Jonathan Swain is here. KimBarkBeverage.com. We tend to talk about business a lot. We both are in family businesses. Was this the plan? Because you are second generation business owner.
Yeah. No, actually, I'll talk about it from my father's perspective and I'll talk about it from my perspective. His perspective, he did not want me to be in this business. The liquor business has a sordid history. You know, they call it a sin business. I mean, it's less that now, but it had a very sordid history. He didn't want me to do this. He wanted me to go off to school. My father was the first person to fire me at 9 years old. I was supposed to be at work at 11 o'clock and I showed up 5 minutes late, walked me outside and fired me. And I'll never be late again. So I appreciate him for that. I walked home. My mother said, well, what happened? I said, Dad fired me. What happened? I was late. He said, well, you got fired. You're late. Can't be late. Told you, get up and leave. My side of it, in many ways, I have a very unique rearing experience in that I've never seen my father work a job. So when I was born, my dad was an entrepreneur. Growing up, I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to be in business doing something, controlling my own destiny in some ways. In particular, my father's generation relative to us, there's not a lot of information transfer about how that works. And there's not a lot of context. It's kind of, I'm going to keep you away from the struggles I have so you don't have them. But in not seeing the struggles, you don't know how to get through the struggles. But as I've gotten older and we developed a relationship and talked about it, I began to understand a lot of the bumps and the bruises and the challenges and what makes entrepreneurship, business ownership, not for the weak and weary. All the success I've had in business has been a function of with my parents. As fortunate as I am and people look to my business story, there is no business story but for them and what they did. I mean, my dad was the first Black business owner in Hyde Park in the 1970s. Hyde Park, though it's in welcoming and inclusive now, wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories that he would tell us about the challenges that he had being a black-owned business in Hyde Park back in the 1970s. That success comes from their legacy, ultimately.
So what see a bad mother.
Tamika Scott. Yeah. As we take this journey through life, we face trials and tribulations. But just know, the enemy is not gonna win. Cause the storm is almost over. That's right. The storm is almost over.
Don't you give up. You come too far to turn back now. Hold your head up. It's almost over. You're set up to take you to your destiny. It's gonna be alright. Everything happens for a reason. Yes, this is your season. Just keep on believing. Blessings you'll be receiving. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It will be alright. Throw your hands to the sky, lift your head up high. The storm is almost over. Everything's gonna work in your favor. You don't have to worry no more. What you're going through won't last. It's a test to take you higher. Just keep the faith, hold on, baby. So it's almost keep moving. Don't let nobody stop you, no. You're getting closer. It's almost over. You're a soldier. Now fight your way to victory. It's gonna be alright. Everything happens for a reason. Yes, this is your season. Just keep on believing. Blessings you'll be receiving. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It will be alright. Throw your hands to the sky.
Robin Patrice is the home of the flyest, absolute flyest handmade items, from natural soaps and lotions, teas that speak for you, jewelry, wickless candles, men's grooming items, and more. Flyness is a choice. So choose Robin Patrice. They truly have something for everyone in the family. Shop online at robinpatrice.com. That's Robin with 2 B's, R-O-double. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Robin Patrice. Robin Patrice, you continue to do great work. Every single time another person speaks on the products that comes from Robin Patrice, they are raving about them. The soaps, the candles, the lotions, everything. Keep doing a phenomenal, phenomenal job. We are absolutely thrilled and proud to be in partnership with you. Thank you so much. Man, too. I came into the show, right? Already just kind of like, eh. And then that even some more heavy shit, just like, yo. But I appreciate everybody's perspective on it. I appreciate the different perspectives that we have on that type of thing, man. It's just a different type of thing, man. My mother, who's always at the show, I'm sure she's in here right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been like uber protective of me, my brother. When my other 3 brothers started to live with us, she's just always been super protective of us. In fact, I had a conversation with my mother today about how protective she wants to be over my 34-year-old ass, right?
You do be.
And in that vein, it's like you never really understood it, right? Like, so you know, her friends would come around her age, right? And they would come around and they'd say some joking shit like, "Ooh, your son's getting more handsome every single day." She go the fuck off. Don't play with me. Don't talk to my sons like that. My son's 16 years old. Bitch, you 40. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was, she was always under that act for forever, right? I won't tell this story, but I won't tell this story, but that issue has popped up, you know, in our family a lot, right? Just, you know, just being around and, you know, dudes, and you like you said, you noticed before Eric left, You walked in this room, he was asleep, laying in the bed. He was like, yo, that's a man laying right there. You know what I'm saying? At 14, 15 years old. So he walked into my house. Ron 6'5", I'm 6'1", 2'2". Like all of us is tall, big athletes and shit. And
Ron was an athlete for sure.
Okay, cool. Ron was definitely the best
I just
athlete.
had to throw that in there.
Ron was definitely the best athlete. Diop was probably the next best athlete.
I can't even see that. This is a whole other story though, right?
Diop
It's funny.
is a super athlete.
It's funny though. We was talking offline. And I know everybody that grew up in Herb's house, and I bet Herb laughed.
Yeah, that's
what's
crazy.
so funny about
That's crazy.
Like, I've known these dudes
He
from
know
all different walks of
my
life.
brothers from different walks of life, and made me laugh.
Like, damn, just wait, what?
I knew you.
Yeah, so my other one of my brothers is Darius Turner. He's in there right now. Darius is the only one that wasn't a freak athlete, right? So that's why he was in here yesterday talking about he's about to play football. See me, I'm like, bro, stop fucking lying.
Stop it, though.
No, you weren't. They play ball for real. See me out. Darius is an athlete, but just not like Ron, like Diop, or even like me or Matt for that matter, right? But yeah, Ron was super athlete, and Diop super crazy athlete too. He could play everything: basketball, football, baseball. He was fast as shit. But anyway, my point is this: those women walk in the house, and my mama see her 5 sons. Those women see like, yo, it can go down.
You know, it's just interesting we having this conversation.
Mhm.
But even in the comments when we was just talking about Barack and how the women was kind of like expounding that there was like a lack of possibility for him to get action.
Right.
Like you see how common that statement was coming through.
Yeah, like he couldn't, he couldn't crack one.
Oh, he was a nerd.
It was
cracking. And again, but from a different perspective.
Yeah.
This is what I tell my son. This is what I tell every young boy I know. Right? From 0 to 25, you're gonna be chasing box. That's part of the natural inclination.
Mm-hmm.
From 25 on, box chases you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now that's just the natural organic progression.
Mm-hmm.
But what it says is that there's a predatory behavior, even because we have predatory behavior too, I'm not gonna lie. But it
100%.
changes. It changes, right?
Mhm.
At a certain age bracket, you don't have to chase nothing.
Yeah.
Because you become the hunted. Right?
The numbers flip.
And I equated that all the time to value,
Mhm.
just like the comes to value, right? Where at the 25, you know, brothers is going to jail, if you're upwardly mobile, if you're on a trajectory up, you become prey.
Mhm.
It just is what it is.
Mhm.
But that class of woman exists regardless.
Oh, it's there.
She's existing.
It's there.
You know what I mean?
It's-
And it's not the shit on women. I'm just saying this is just the real thing.
Yeah, it's there.
So to assume that Barack can't get action, to assume anybody can.
It doesn't make sense.
It's insanity.
It doesn't make sense. The running joke amongst our brothers is like as we got older, right? All of us who was like, you know, drowning in box growing up, Dez got as we got older, Dez got the most chicks. Dez had all the chicks once we got like grown. But growing up, Ron was super athlete. The rest of us athletes and swag and all that shit. And Darius wasn't an athlete. And it was like, Darius is knocking everything down, right? You know what I'm saying? Like now he's married now and shit, but
you becoming the prey.
yeah, like this idea of box not being readily, it's cracking. It is cracking. And so I just don't understand. So that's like the whole Barack not getting, that don't even make sense.
But I'm not even talking, again, it ain't about Barack to me. It's about the culture that we kind of live
That's
in.
what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? And again, about how we don't even give black men and boys the value of being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what I'm saying is from our perspective, from a male's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
like who's lived this journey, who's walked this path for just 40 years. You know what I mean? You can legitimately see the predatory behaviors and how they shift and how they change and how aggressive they become. You know what I mean? As a young child, you might not be able to quantify that or qualify it or whatever, but I was doing things at 16, 15, 14 that I probably shouldn't be doing with those women.
100%.
Right? And be clear about this. I wasn't the Diop of my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was good money, but it was other dudes who I looked up to, like you the flyest dude in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they was having experiences that when I look back on it, they shouldn't have been having either.
Yeah.
Right? And that's still just from a sexual context.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But again, when you start getting out of just the sexual context, you realize, like you were just talking about your mom being overprotective.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I got a neighbor who's nearly 90 years old who grew up in the neighborhood with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just my grandmother lived on one corner, she lived on the other corner.
Sure.
So when I go to the neighborhood, I see her out on the porch or something, I stop and just parlay with her, just good people, right? And she tells me stories about myself when I was a child that I don't even remember, type of shit. You know what I mean? But it's vague memories to me, and she'll say shit like, man, I remember you was 4 years old, and you be riding your big wheel across 95th Street by yourself. Now put that in to context.
Right.
95th Street is like, what, 6 lanes?
Yeah. You
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now that I have a child, like when I started letting Eric kind of venture out into the neighborhood by himself, my main concern was him. I told you, it was like crossing the street.
Yeah.
And this dude is 14. But I just know he's not conscious of his environment. Right? But at 4 or 5, I know this to be fact. My parents kind of gave me to the game, like, yeah.
Get out there.
Get out there. Do what you want to do.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And maybe young, I validated that shit like, I'm the man. I can do what I want to do.
Right.
I remember young, like spending the night with girls and nobody questioned that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was like, okay.
First girlfriend I had in my life was when I was like a sophomore in high school. Before then, the whole concept was just weird to me. Even at that point, it was weird to me. It wasn't even a really thing like that. But the first girlfriend I was like, that I claimed was like I was like a sophomore in high school. That girl was like 20. Right? She was like a sophomore in college. Not a girl that I had known a long time and she just happened to go to college and then we stayed cool. I met her that way. Right? I met her at that time. But it was nobody thought shit about it. It was like, well, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
So look, see this is the bullshit, y'all. I'm reading the comments and I'm gonna call us on our bullshit.
A sophomore nigga from college couldn't have came home with my sophomore sister. You know what I'm saying? Girl, family member.
But I'm gonna say this is the bullshit, right? So Garda says times were different back then. Then right under that, Ready Rock says you was good though. Age shouldn't matter. If certain things, the environment should allow for safety. I didn't say I was safe. I said I was doing it.
Oh yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I witnessed my first murder at like 11.
Yeah.
I didn't say I was safe. I said I was doing it.
It happened.
Right? And we quantify shit by, again, pathological reasons instead of data. The data says it was worse back then.
Right.
That's what the data says.
Right.
The data says my chances of getting shot the fuck up was higher then than it was today.
Fuck how you feel about it.
Pathology says because we felt some kind of way.
Fuck how you feel about it.
About this.
Right.
Fuck how you feel about it. My son ain't never seen a murder. He's 15.
Right.
By the time I was 15, I'd probably known 10, 15 people that was murdered.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And seen a few of those murders. Right. So that's what I mean about the pathology versus the data.
Yeah. Fuck how you
feel. This is what's real.
This is the reality.
And I'm not even saying I was abused. That's not the conversation. That's not where I'm coming from.
What was accepted as normal?
What was normalized and what shouldn't have been normalized.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What shouldn't have been normalized. I remember my sister lied to my father about going somewhere with one of her homies when she was spending the night with some dude. Right? Now my sister probably 17 at the time, came with the lie like maybe it's prom and they going to Great America afterwards. Whatever the lie they used to tell. Right?
Right.
So she told her, my old man, I'm going to Nathaniel house. A girlfriend of hers. My old man, for some reason, decided to call Nathaniel house. And her ass hadn't been seen. So when she got her ass to the crib, he beat the brakes off her ass. You understand me? She's 17, 18 years old.
Right.
But I remember distinctly being 12, 13, be like, man, I'm finna go over.
Slide.
It's like, man, I'll see you in the morning.
Slide. Different.
It just was a different energy.
Those experiences are different. I want to tell you a story that I saw very, very early. We got to hit this break, but the story I saw very, very early, I saw my mom wrestle this grown-ass man over a pistol, right in front of my face. Wild ass story. I'll tell you that when we come back from this break.
WIFTVPM. Introducing your trusted source for high-quality Black emojis, better known as Blackmoji. We believe Black is beautiful, and that beauty should be reflected in the digital market. Now there is an app that does just that, starting with Black Greek letter organizations. Blackmoji D9 offers more than an emoji app. It is a cultural experience of Black excellence. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to access a specially curated catalog of emojis representing the Divine Nine. Use the emojis to celebrate Black Greek events, acknowledge current events, support social causes, and learn about esteemed Black group members who blaze the trail of Black history. A portion of every subscription goes toward a scholarship fund specifically for members of Black group-led organizations to help keep the legacy alive. Download the Blackmoji app today.
What's up, good people? If you didn't tune in to the last I Said What I Said, here's what you missed. This legendary journalist, man, his list of accomplishments goes on and on. He's an author, a brother. He is someone that, for me, I've looked up to literally since I was about 11 or 12 years old. And this was really before I knew his name. I mean, I knew what Slam Magazine was. That's kind of what you did as a shorty. But I didn't even know that he wrote for it, right? And I had read plenty of his articles, but I didn't know that the dude who I saw every morning on my way to school was Scoop Jackson. Eastside crazy, man. So, and growing up over there where I grew up, there wasn't a whole lot of positive male representation. I would walk down the block past his house every morning. I would see him coming out of his driveway, right? He had this coldest truck, black Pathfinder, if I recall. I would see him, and he would always just take a couple minutes to chop it up, and it would just be me or, a couple of my guys walking to school. And again, over there wasn't a whole lot of representation of positive Black males. I don't know that you were aware of the difference that you were making on us at the time.
I don't want to say I don't believe in the concept of giving back. I feel if you give back, that means that you left. So my whole purpose in never leaving the same neighborhood I came up in is that I never gave back. You just give. I would hope that I would have impact on what your everyday lives were. I could be the one dude in the neighborhood that stopped and spoke to you, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
Because young individuals in Black neighborhoods, especially young men, get ignored very quickly.
All the time.
They get dismissed. Right. They get minimized. And the one thing, I still do it to this day. Say what's up to everybody, especially young brothers, because we have a tendency not to acknowledge one another. And I've never lived that life. My hope was that, us having the small time and me just being there and you all, just developing a relationship with me and me developing a relationship with you would have at least a small impact on you. It would give you like, all right, there's some decent people around me. There's something I can look forward to maybe. If I don't have anybody else in this neighborhood that I can talk to that can identify with me,
right, I
can ring Scoop's doorbell. You got a good memory. It was a black Pathfinder too. You good.
Coldest truck I had seen. I was like, yo, that's raw. It's balling. I said what I said. Urban 2, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
WIFTBPN.
Jerk, chicken, rib tips, turkey tips, and more can all be ordered online or by phone from The Woodline, located at 1200 East 79th Street. The Woodline on Chicago's South Side is where food, culture, and making an impact intersect. What's in It for the Black People Media is proud to support The Woodline, an innovative center for the entire family. Experience igloo dining or host your own socially distant event and more. Visit them online at www.thewoodline1200.com. Y'all still ain't been to the Woodline? Y'all wildin'. I need to get to the Woodline for sure. Try the food, experience the phenomenal service. Check out the ambiance. Just enjoy it. It's the whole thing. It's a whole vibe over there. Y'all get over to the Woodline, 1200 East 79th Street. Huge shout out to Donnell and the whole squad over there doing dope things inside and outside of the restaurant. Too, when I was like, trying to be as accurate as I can on this piece. I want to say I was about 7. Stu lived upstairs from us, and because it's just often required in our communities, my brother and I would go to school, or we'd have to get home from school on our own, right? So walk, take the bus. We had keys, which I lost all the time, got in trouble for all the time. That's another story. We had keys, come home. And one day we coming home from school, we get into the building, and some dudes that we had never even seen in the building were walking out of the hallway of the building, right? Walk right past us on the stairs. They might even fucking spoke. I don't even know. Me and my brother don't think much of this. We walk right past them. They got like bags and shit.
They didn't rob the crib.
They robbed the crib.
Yeah, that happened in my house before too.
We walk in the crib and we look, kind of look around, take us a second to look around, and then we both look right at each other like, oh, fuck. It was them niggas that just walked right past us with our shit, right? And so, it was too late to do shit about it. Then I don't even know what we could have done. But anyhow, my mom becomes convinced that this was orchestrated by the dude who lived upstairs from us. And
She's probably right.
Yeah, she was right. Anyway, she confronts him about it maybe like that evening or the next evening on the back stairs. And this dude was absolute scum, right? Him beating his old lady every other day, you know what I'm saying? Wilding in and out the joint. My mom confronts him nonetheless. They get into this heated argument on the back steps, right? My mom's like, go get my gun, right? Now I'm like 7, right? So that would put my brother at like 10. Because of who I am, because I'm just observing and I don't miss shit. As we go into the house, she was talking to my brother, but my brother he didn't even know where the gun was at, right? I knew exactly where it was, right? So I go and get it, but then my brother takes it from me, goes outside, right? Now, as he comes outside to give this gun to my mother, the dude jumps around trying to like snatch the gun from my brother, who's again, he's like 10 years old, right? So now my mother's like, this is a terrible situation. I can't let this dude have the gun. Charges him. Boom. So now they wrestling for the gun, right? The gun's up here. They just wrestling.
This is some movie shit.
Yeah, this is some.
Mama Howard, you was wilding. What you doing now?
100%, right? So they wrestle for this gun all the way up the stairs from the first floor up to like the 3rd floor where he lived, right? Wrestle for this gun, and apparently, he ends up getting it, but he goes in the crib. Mama come back down. She might even came back downstairs with the gun. I don't even remember that part. What I do remember is that later on that night, all my uncles and every nigga my mama grew up with came to my crib. And I walked in the kitchen that night, and dog,
it was a gang meeting.
Exactly, right? You would have thought it was a gang meeting getting ready for a fucking war. Nigga, the table is full of guns. And they all just cleaning off these guns. And this motherfucker, and wait till this motherfucker come out that motherfucking door. He won't open that much because he's upstairs, right? He didn't see all this. They didn't been upstairs. So he won't come downstairs. These niggas stay there all night, sit in the kitchen. At some point, probably like early that morning, dude tries to get out, right?
Take the garbage out, something.
He tries to come creeping down the stairs. And I guess, I don't know, one of my uncles or somebody heard him, open the door, this nigga comes falling downstairs. I'll end that story there, but this is shit that happens at 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it impacts you in a way you don't forget that kind of shit, right? You just don't really forget that kind of shit growing up as a young dude. And then what's then required of you for how you address certain situations. If I can watch my OG deal with this nigga, right? Big dude. Always fucking his own old lady up. Don't give a shit about my mama, right? You know what I'm saying? There are certain things that are required of you, and you see that shit at an early age as a boy. I don't know, as a 7-year-old girl, she'd have been like, go get my gun. Or a 10-year-old girl, right? She was talking to my older brother. He just didn't know what it was at the time. It was in a purple Crown Royal bag. It's like a 38, a revolver.
Man, you remember in the Dr. Curry speech, because I know we a lot of this is, again, centered around this sexual kind of violence thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a whole lot of shit he touched on. Again, I don't remember what he called it, but there was a portion of that where he said to avoid this kind of pathology of not being viewed or being seen, black men usually ingratiate themselves in work or ideas leading towards success. I think he called it the Jerry.
Right.
I forget what he called it, but it's a syndrome. It has a name attached to it.
They caught that fool when he was coming home. Her cop friends had locked him up. They waited for him to make bond and come home. That's what they was waiting on.
Okay. But in that, though, he was like, he gave it a name. So it's something attached to his name, right? And I thought about that, too. And that still goes into not being seen, right? I got an interesting relationship with my mama. You know what I mean? It's a very delicate relationship with my mama. Now, my mama's passed on now, and it's interesting that that dynamic of after she passed on was very interesting to me. And in a lot of ways, I think her passing had a greater impact on me than anybody else in my family, even though I lacked a relationship with her for the vast majority of my life, right? And I think in a lot of ways, like when she passed, it was almost like I was being freed. And that shit sounds crazy to say out loud. You know what I mean? But whatever whatever he categorized that shit as, and I had to go back to the John Henryism. Thanks, Salim. I'd have to go back to that. But I don't, because Salim is always on point.
All hail King Salim.
Right.
Salim said he was impressed or he agreed with something that we were doing. I'm like, it's like
but
proud parent.
But that John Henryism shit, and again, I'm looking at it from a certain lens and a certain perspective because I'm a young child growing up in my mother's household. But that John Henryism shit that he just spoke about was the totality of my father's existence. The totality of my father's existence was grind mode, right? Like, I hooped all my life. My father been to one of my basketball games in my entirety of my life. And I used to be pissed about that shit. But then, as I aged, I grew, I was like, man, he funding this shit. I can't be mad.
Right. Do you got shoes to hoop?
He funding this shit. I'd rather him fund it than show up, at least in my mind. You know what I mean? My mama, beautiful woman, right? Never worked. And she suffered from her own shit. Like, as I grew up, I started to learn more and more shit. You know what I mean? Right. But I'm saying all this to say that my relationship with my mother and the lens that it was shaped through the relationship that she was having with my father. You know what I'm saying? So, and she didn't see him. She didn't see him. Right? And I saw him. You know what I mean? And just listen to this shit about, it ain't, the opposite ain't hate, it's indifference. Nigga, I don't even see you.
Fuck you. I'm not upset. I ain't mad.
But your entirety of your existence is based on this motherfucker.
Get it.
You understand?
I still don't see you.
It's just, the dynamic is very interesting. When he died, my father was a photographer. Right? Now, clarity's sake, my father was sick for 10 years, his last 10 years on this planet. In them last 4 years, I took care of my old man. Right? Now, my mama, my sister, love him to death. But he was the foundation of all this shit. And I took care of him. Nobody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a very interesting dynamic. And when he passed, like, be clear about this shit too. So he was an entrepreneur. So ain't no insurances and shit. Ain't none of this shit. Right. You gonna will and deal figure this shit out. So I knew that he was gonna pass. It was based, it just was what it was. Inevitable was inevitable. And the first thing that comes to my mind is,
how we gonna pay for this shit?
Not just how I'm gonna pay for this shit, but how am I gonna support my mama? Cause she don't do shit. She ain't never done shit. Right? So now this burden just gets shifted to me. A boy that she ain't seen in his whole life. But now this burden is on me. For a motherfucker who at least in my mind, I felt like could give a shit. That's a very interesting paradigm.
It's extremely interesting. I'm interested in how you carried it, and I'm interested in how you think, if you want to have that conversation, right? That's some personal shit. But I'm also interested in how you think that's impacted your relationship with women throughout your life. And if you've ever even been aware of it, and if so, when you became aware of it. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll see if we'll dig into that conversation and more. This is I Said What I Said. We'll be right back.
WIFTPM.
Greetings, family. I am Salim Muwakil, and I welcome you to Muwakil's World. I'm going to chop it up with Dr. Lance Williams, professor at Jacob Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies, and one of the most knowledgeable scholars of Chicago's street organizations.
During the doo-wop era, you wasn't doing no doo-wop about what you was doing in the street. That was improper. What made rap so unique was that for the first time, this is how we actually are living, especially at the bottom. So what happens is it becomes so popular because it's so raw. And ultimately, rappers realize that this is what sells, and this is what the industry wants. So even guys who don't authentically have those experiences, and young women, are rapping about it and having success. And after years of now this happening, it becomes known that, hey, this dude ain't really no real gangster. You know, this is a studio gangster. And what it did was music lost credibility because people thought they were listening to real gangsters rap. The sales of the music who basically was being consumed by white suburban youth. This was their way of, it was a voyeuristic way of experiencing the hood, which they've always been fascinated with, without actually putting your life in danger. So you can listen to it. But once they found out, oh, these dudes ain't real, then even they stopped buying it. What's going on in the streets today? Because what the industry did was they realized, hey, the studio gangster thing ain't gonna work. So guess what? Let's go get some real gangsters that got the real credibility. But you know, when Chief Keef, and these guys, so what we have expressed in the music scene today when you deal with either, you know, trap down stuff, but particularly drill music is the hot music. That's right. Nationally. Right? And internationally. And internationally, right? Which started right here on 63rd. O Block. So it's a shooting culture. So that's what they're rapping about. And that's what is hot, right? And so we saw the tragedy. Fratricide is hot. Yeah. That's what the tragedy of King Von, right? Of him, you know, he's a real dude. And now what happens is, because that's the model of success, everybody is following that. So everybody wants to be a shooter now. And what it's doing is it's driving a lot of the violence. In any culture, your music and your entertainment is a part of your cultural expression. So whenever you can have an extended period of time of a particular type of music that's having influence, it becomes a part of your culture. That's what Kwabena is saying in terms of his activism. I'm saying basically these radio stations are helping to produce a culture that's leading to the death and destruction of the Black community so that they could sell, commodify, you know, their merch, right? But, you know, we losing a lot of little brothers and sisters in the streets because of this, the way they think about things, how they see themselves, which they get from the music. Now, people are like, well, that's crazy that they're being influenced by music. They should be influenced by the values of their families. Ideally, yes. But the reality of the society that we live in is who has the biggest voice. And we know the media is the biggest voice in terms of ideals in the society that we live in.
If that fratricidal motif is being absorbed primarily by white listeners, who's the primary audience, why aren't they exhibiting this kind of behavior?
Because, first of all, it's not their identity.
Boys, step aside. The Radio Rookie is in the building. The Book of Dawn, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on What's In It for the Black People Media.
Hey y'all, this is Salim Muwakil from Muwakil's World. In case you missed the last discussion, this is what you missed. There was a time when there was a large-scale mythology that African people had no endurance. We were only good for sprinting. Right. And that was our forte. Other than that, we were useless in marathon races. Establishing your patrimony on the land. If you bury the dead, that means that this land is forever in your family.
Who are our ancestors, really? We are the living ancestors to a whole genealogical line going back hundreds of thousands, millions of years that we carry within us living today. Everyone who preceded us. Mm-hmm. You know, however, that conception took place, whether it was violently, with rape, or whatever the case, but we are them living today.
That's why it's important to understand our capacity, man. Our capacity is unlimited. We have unlimited potential.
Absolutely.
So make sure you tune in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 1 p.m. on What's In It for the Black People.
That's why we shine wherever we go. 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 Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what the cop said. I'm living a legacy. So even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead. Fuck with me.
Man, I love that intro. That joint is fire, man. You gotta get Ace Da Vinci in the studio when we can. Real dope brother, too. Super, super dope. and a talented musician as well. Listen, man, today is Thursday. Vegan jackfruit tacos are available at Sissy's Taco Bar Pop-Up. Are you ready for some authentic, delicious street tacos on the south side of Chicago? Stop by Sissy's Taco Bar Pop-Up at 312 East 75th Street today and tomorrow, December 3rd and December 4th. Enjoy their jerk chicken, sriracha shrimp, and blackened salmon tacos. And don't forget to ask about their Rome walking taco, Sissy's street corn, and children's meal that comes with a special prize. Visit sissystacobar.com and sign up for text message updates to get a free taco with any purchase. Today, they open. Get over there. Get some of them tacos. Sissy's Taco Bar Pop-Up, 312 East 75th Street. Support the movement, man. Check it out. Jackfruit vegan tacos. Let's go have some Sissy's tacos up here yesterday.
So good.
Bang.
You had the jackfruit ones?
Yes, I did. And the texture, the taste was exactly like a taco. And the ingredients were fresh.
Yeah?
I was shook. My brain was like, this is plant-based.
Yeah.
But it's a taco. But
Mhm.
it's a taco.
Mhm.
It's so good.
No, I dig that, man. I dig that. If you say it's fat, it's fat, man.
Y'all ever had Brother Tim's vegan tacos?
No, Brother Tim.
No, but I want to.
Yeah, so I mean, they're good, but once you eat them, you better be close to the bathroom.
They running right through you? You know what?
High-speed highway in there, you know what I'm saying?
You know what tacos ran right through me? And that people still be excited about it. And I just never went back. And I knew this was a bad decision the moment I walked in the restaurant and ordered jerk taco, man. When it was out west. Now, I know they be out south now. And
So
listen,
I'm
I'm not trying to.
I don't want to be no hater.
Yeah.
But the first time I ate that, me and my old lady, we were sick for like 2 weeks. I think it was food poisoning in that joint.
But here's the thing. The minute I walked in there and ordered tacos, it was like tacos like $5. And for $5, they gave me like 18 pounds of meat. I
It's a
should
lot
have
of
known.
food. It's a lot of food.
I should have
But it's probably meat from 3 months ago.
I should have known. How did this man just give me 18 pounds of meat for $3? I should have known. They didn't taste bad. They were fine.
So
But then I
shout
spent
out
the
to
whole rest
Boozy.
of the
She
day-
said, "Y2 don't do no commercials." Tell them I don't do no commercials, Sonya. Let me hate on my voice.
No, he's the visual artist here.
Oh, that's what it is.
He's a creative.
That's what it is. It's
Yes,
just
yes, you're more of a visual.
It's more of a visual.
Absolutely.
See, Esco gives you the positive
Haters.
perspective.
Right.
I'm gonna give you the other side.
Yeah, Herb was like, man, that's just trash.
Two don't like motherfucker. He don't do shit. He don't like Two be like, vegan jackfruit tacos. Coming to, what is it? Sissy's taco. What is it? Taco pop-up? Yeah, somewhere out south. They got some. They got some
Sissy deal, you know.
You don't even like
They got
the
some
paper
shrimp,
it's
they got
printed
some
on.
tacos.
Cheap ass.
Fuck with it if you want to fuck with it. I ain't like that. That's why Two don't do. That's why Two don't do.
Fuck with it if you want to fuck with it.
Yeah. That's why Two don't do Rich. Don't ask for that shit. Y'all don't even want to see it. I promise you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But you know, hey, Jerk Taco Man wants to.
Hey man, y'all be putting this shit on my jacket. It ain't true, G. Y'all done made me into a whole different person out here. This is
Listen, he's recorded. So like the drops you hear on the commercials, like on doing the commercials, the ads. He's recorded a couple of those shits. Let's go. Like, listen to this. Too late this down. I said that's terrible. We're not running.
Man, that shit is ass.
We're not running that one. Like, you're not my dad.
Fuck your fork.
Fuck your fork. Right. Fuck your commercial, little nigga. We ain't running it. Where were we before we went to break? You were being transparent. I was being transparent. We were probably talking a little bit too much to keep it a buck with you. But we always keep it a buck. That's kind of what we do here.
No, that's all good with me. I don't have none of this shit. And even when we do our Relationship Fridays, that's the moniker I want to base this shit in. You know what I mean? I think that's the only way you get to the resolve. That's the only way you get to the answer, right? And even I know we've had this conversation a lot of times, but Beach brought it home the other day when Walter Beach was on here, and he brought up the construct of like, you know, we can have whatever conversation we want to have, but until you have those experiences, those conversations fall on deaf ears.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And Mob was, I mean, I'm old. Some people in reference to life, I'm young, but in my young life, I've had a multitude of experiences that I know supersede a lot of my peers.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And just the very nature of who I am forces me to be observant of those experiences rather than to just walk through them. Like I embrace them. You know what I mean? That's just my nature.
Lean into it.
I lean into that shit. You know what I mean? And, you know, I know you'd ask me like how that shit affected my relationships with women. But even before I get to that, because it definitely had an effect. I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
Sure.
But it had an effect on my own shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Man, it was a conversation I was having with a lawyer when my father died, and my mother was in the room. Now, mind you, my father had afforded our lifestyle for the entirety of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Through his death, I was picking up that tab. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And trying to figure out a way to pick up the tab of having this responsibility of my mother going forward. Now, mind you, I'm a grown man. I got my own family and shit. I don't, I live in that house.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And now I'm looking at how to take care of a whole nother household because I just don't think she has the capacity to do it herself. And talking to a lawyer, and part of when you get to an estate or whatever, like my dad had a name for photography in the city. You know what I mean? But in order to I don't know the legal phrasing for this shit, but to actually own his estate, I had to pay this lawyer some other money. And imagine I just paid for the funeral expenses, and I gave my mama some money because people was donating money to my family and all that shit. But I'm just passing that shit on to my mama because I know inherently she's gonna need this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a bill attached to making this estate or putting this estate in my name. And she had this happened in the lawyer's office, and she was like, what she said? She said, that shit wasn't valuable when he was alive. Why would it be valuable now? Gee, you took everything to remain in the polarity of her being my mama.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I had to get up and walk about that office.
The value of his life work.
This is his life's work that essentially paid for everything you've ever had in your life.
And here's his partner saying it ain't worth shit, it don't mean shit.
That's right?
Tough. That's tough.
Now, I'm saying all this to say just setting up the understanding though, too, right? And again, I don't blame my mom. I ain't mad at my mom, none of that shit.
No.
Right? Actually, I thank her. You know what I mean? Because who knows what experiences she had that drove her to being that kind of person. I don't know. But either way, my point is that was the relationship with us. You know what I mean? And in her passing, I had this kind of epiphany though, because this shit was bothering me in a way that I'd never, I dealt with a lot of death. And to be honest, if I hate to say this out loud, but when you had the thought of the expectation, it wasn't what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My response wasn't what I was expecting.
Sure.
And I thought about that shit a lot. Why is this affecting me in this way? Why is this affecting me in this way? Mm-hmm. And going through that experience grew me. Right? Mm-hmm. And I just said I'm the last surviving member of every one of my family. Yeah. All of them deaths grew me in different kind of ways. My old man died, it grew me professionally. I ain't gonna lie, my money changed a whole lot. I looked at the world through a different lens. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? My sister passed away, it grew me with my relationship with my larger family, my cousins, I got different kind of relationships than that. But when my mother passed, it grew me internally. Mm. All that shit we talk about on Relationship Fridays, that shit is a direct reflection of my mother passing. Mm. I didn't have none of that thought shit before that. Mm-hmm. All that was after my mama passed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I said, it revealed me to me. You know what I mean? It revealed me to me. Mm-hmm. And that's some shit we really run from. But it was based in the connotation of the American psyche. Mm-hmm. You invisible, nigga.
Right.
And I felt that for however many years.
Right.
I knew that to be true. I wasn't a dude in the neighborhood that you said my mama, I was going to be mad. Right. It is what it is. Mm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but in that invisibility, when she passed, though, again, like I said, it was just kind of epiphany. Damn, man, why is this affecting me this way? Mm-hmm. Damn, man, you was like, how did that affect you?
Right, in your relationship with women.
And my relationships with women. It made me a jerk. Mm. Right? And it made me a jerk in this kind of way, though, right? The women I dealt with would never tell you that.
Right.
They would never tell you that.
Yeah.
If you ask most of them, they probably tell you, I'm in the top tier of the guys they was really liking. Mm-hmm. But internally, I ain't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that pridefully. I'm saying that's some whack shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I didn't make much investment in their value. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? This is the direct reflection of the relationship I was having with my mama through the duration of my life. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And when she passed, it was like that veil was lifted. Like I could see myself for the first time. You know what I mean? And I could either look, like I said, lean into that or run away from that. You know what I mean? But it's just interesting for me to hear the Dr. Curry conversation because in a lot of ways, that shit is validation of my life. It's my life story. And not just my life story, it's my father's life story. And I don't even know my grandfather, but I bet $1 to a dime it's his life story too.
Yeah.
Because I did know my grandmama. And the way she spoke about Joe Warner was very similar to that story. You know what I mean?
I do want to leave some room for understanding, right? Just in that there's a difference between somebody being your father, somebody being your husband or your partner, right?
Absolutely.
And so that disdain for his life's work made it come from a different place. Like I wanted or expected something else. I wanted you to be doing something else. And I'm not saying that's right? But I'm just trying to understand how she could feel that way about it versus how you felt about it.
Now, going back into the paradigm of white supremacy though too, right? And why Dr. Curry's work is relevant and why I say it from the standpoint of we don't see humanity in us, right? Everyone else gets an opportunity to have humanity attached to them, right? And even if it's just leverage to keep your ass in your place.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the lexicon of what makes a man valuable, provide and protect, right? Well, as a black male who are on the outskirts of this system that allows you opportunity to provide and protect,
sure,
you're not really viewed in the greatest of lights in regards to women in our community.
From jump.
Because you can't meet the standard.
Right.
What the media says is provisional.
Right.
Right? Now, I'm just context.
Sure. I'm with you.
Right? So, but I had a different perspective. And I'm saying this from a child. Every boy's gonna idolize their father. It just is what the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm true story about that shit too, and it's probably shaped in the same context. I didn't like his ass.
I know.
But I idolized him.
Told me, right.
Right? And I didn't like him because he put certain demands on me that I just didn't see anybody else, them demands being put on anybody else. But when I became a man, I so appreciated that shit. Right? But again, context. And it's probably the same shit I do with my son. I'm not saying it's right. It's just how you deal with the goddamn environment, right? So the conversation of the requirements that my man was putting on me, nigga, ain't nobody gonna value you, so you got to value yourself above all.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna save you from shit. You got to be able to save yourself above all, right? And those were lessons that he was putting on me early. I told you the story about my door getting broke at 6 years old, and he was like, man, how this goddamn door fixed when I get home?
Right.
I'm 6, motherfucker. What you think I'm gonna do with this door? But best believe when he got home, he expected that door to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? And by 6.5 or 6 years old in 1 week, I knew how to fix that goddamn door. You know what I mean? It's certain shit you just gonna catch on to because you start to put these demands on yourself. Because you know he finna drop them on your ass.
Right. We ain't playing.
It is what it is, right?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I know he was.
It's all good, but I'm just creating context though, right? So he put them pressures on me. But at the same time, my relationship is to my father, and I'm seeing him from a different vantage point.
Sure.
I could not like him, but I could absolutely admire him. I could value him. My value context was based in his humanity and not the kind of car he drove, not the address that he had. Yeah. Now, context again.
Yeah.
My mama was a beautiful woman, right? I got old pictures of my mama. She looks legitimately like I could swap out Solange Knowles pictures for my mama. They look like twins, right? So light skin, long hair, all the shit. And this is whenever they met, I don't know what, the 60s or some shit. She could have been a whole bunch of niggas' prizes. She used to tell stories about the celebrity niggas that was digging her.
Yeah.
And I fully could understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe in context of what she thought she could have had versus what she got.
So she resented.
Maybe so. Right? Context. This nigga was Jesus Christ to me. Because he was holding this shit up by his own merit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was growing up in the neighborhood where 12 of my peers, 12 of my closest homies
didn't even have one.
There wasn't no motherfucking man around nowhere. So you immediately start to recognize, hey, this shit different, homie.
Yeah.
And I value it because I know how different it is, because I know they don't got it.
You heard how I spoke of Scoop just because he was a man in my community. Right? That was willing to lend me 30 seconds of his time. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit wasn't around, right? All the dudes I went to grammar school with, all of them, one of them had a father in their house. One, right? And that was just the reality of the situation. And so if I could look at Scoop just because he fucking spoke to me sometimes, right? I can imagine what it is like to watch a man hold this whole shit up, right? And then the regard for what you would have for him.
That's some different shit.
I've never really dealt with this in my life, but fuck it, we're here. I never knew my father. To hear mostly my auntie Donna speaks about my father highly. She liked him, right? And obviously my mother liked him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of how he was with me as a baby, right? Just hear all this great shit. Now, apparently he gets caught up in the streets, starts abusing drugs. My mother, again, being as protective as she's always been, you ain't gonna be around my son with that shit. Period. And that was that, right? That was that. I've never seen him, right? He could have walked past me on the fucking street, and maybe he did. Shit. I lived in the same neighborhood my whole fucking life. Maybe he did walk past me on the street. I would have never fucking known it, right? And what happens is you kind of just internalize that shit and you suppress it. Like, fuck it. You ain't here. Don't matter. I don't give a fuck. Fuck that shit, right? And that is the armor that you start to put on at 4 and 5 years old. Fuck that shit. I don't need it. I ain't got to deal with it. I don't never have to address it. So I walked around that way from the time I was aware of myself until one day I came home. I was like 16 years old in high school. I came home and my mother says, she's got this look on her face like something's wrong. And she's like, baby, I got to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, tell me. And she's like, sit down. And so I was like, where's Ron at? And she's like, huh? I said, where's Ronald at? Like, because clearly something's wrong here. She's like, he's at school. He's fine. I was like, okay, well, then I sat down. Like, okay, what is the issue here then? And so she's like, your father passed. And I was like, who? Right? Like, literally, I was like, who? I was like, you had me sit down and like get prepared for that. I don't even give a fuck, right? That had become my demeanor about this whole situation, right? Fuck it, it didn't really matter to me, right? And then truth be told, after he died, the state started sending me like a check for like $1,100 every month for, I forgot what the fuck it was for, but the state would send me this $1,100 check every month. Nigga, I would go crazy with the fucking check. My mom would let me have that shit, right? My mom would let me have it, and I would go buy fucking throwback jerseys.
So to get these mics, nigga.
I was fresh as hell. I had $400 jerseys and all kind of goofy shit, right? But anyhow, point is, that was my demeanor about this shit for a long time. Well into my adulthood, in terms of years, right? And then at some point, I grew like curious about it, right? And the more curious I grew about it, I was like, well, God damn it, I would have liked to know this motherfucker. Regardless, right? Because there are clucks in my family. Be very clear, right? Be very clear. There are
black brothers, clucks in every black family.
Right, of course, right? There are clucks in my family that I see all the fucking time. So then it became, well, if I get to see my uncles and my aunties, why the fuck can't I see my daddy, right? It was just a thought that came up to me like, now he's dead and gone now, that ship has sailed, right? But it was like, well, what the fuck, you know? And I know full well that my mother was like coming from a place of protection and love and doing exactly what she thought the very best thing to do. And I don't harbor no shit about that. But I do wish that I had a chance to know him, however he was, because I love my uncles and my aunties to death. No clucks, Ready Rock. I love my uncles and my aunties to death. And so, you know, I don't know that alone could have prevented me from having a relationship with him either, right? And so I was thought about, reaching out to his other kids. And sometimes I'm like, you want me to reach out to him? I know, his other kids and where they are and shit like that. But I'm like, I don't know, right? It would blow my fucking mind to see a picture of this motherfucker. He looked just like me. That would tweak me the fuck out, right? Yeah. I don't even know why the fuck I was going with that story, but
I want to go somewhere with that story.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my era, coming up your story was much more common than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fucked up to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But again, I didn't have the information that I have today. Right? So I'm gonna be real. Like, growing up, I would look at my partners and they struggle with that shit. Like, because I had a father, I could see the differences.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like subtle differences though, right? Somebody on here was like, the wildest niggas is always the ones that don't have a daddy.
Mm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm gonna tell you this: like, even in the ways I handled street issues, even in the ways I dealt with girls, it was different shit. It's the difference between demanding and commanding in my mind.
Sure.
I never had the demand respect in the neighborhood. I commanded respect.
Right.
And that allowed me to move through certain shit that some of my peers couldn't move through. And it wasn't even like I tried.
Right.
I was just like ordained to have certain level of respect or privilege, I guess you could say.
Right.
Right. But it was based in the way I carried myself and my character. And that was a direct reflection of a man being around me all my life. And I know they lacked a lot of that shit. And in a lot of ways, it also elevated me to leadership capacity in my community. A lot of them dudes look to me for answers. You know what I'm saying? Just in the way I carry myself. You know what I mean? But I say all that to say this. I didn't have the information I have today. Right? So whether it be addicts, whether it be death. I saw some people in here talking about my dad was murdered. Whether it be whatever pitfalls you can attach to our community. All that shit is anchored in the same philosophy. It's anchored in the philosophy of this motherfucker here is the greatest threat to the empire.
Mm-hmm.
This motherfucker here is the greatest threat to the empire. And all that the man got his foot on my neck shit that we don't like to hear, or pull yourself up from your bootstraps, we don't like to hear. There's no way to get the level of masculine failures in our communities that we get without there being a systemic reason to that. Mm-hmm. Right? So whether you fall to addiction, whether you fall to violence, whether you fall to lack of self-respect, whether you fall to selfishness, all because that's all part of the shit too. It's all predicated in the paradigm that says protect the empire. So to the point of the Dr. Curry statement, me being in my household, me seeing my father overcome the odds that I know are out here, because I'm still living in his shadow. Like, I'm a black man in this same world. I know what's available. Nigga, I could have got a pistol at 11. I could have had cocaine I could have had whatever you want. It's available to you.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's always available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And shit, not to put nobody business out there, but clubs, they came about my grandmama's house too.
For sure.
You understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
So whatever odds he overcame, some of my uncles couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I say I was to say that in my mind, here's the standard of what's supposed to be. Here's the standard of victory. He's achieved this shit. He's reached this shit. And the world still didn't acknowledge his existence.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck value is getting that in? I mean, that's a real question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So as a shorty, I saw that as a representation of manhood in my life every day.
Yeah.
But I also saw the rest of the world not respond. And then I could see my little homie down the street, just got that colors, got them Billups in that Billups steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
He's serving death to the community, but everybody love him.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck you think I'm gonna model myself after?
Mm-hmm.
Death is around the corner for shorty, but even in that death, he's gonna be valued more than this other man who working every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Who you think got the better outcome? So when you see a King Von die, right? When he lived like a fucking flash, but he made a statement he felt valuable for those 2-3 years of his life.
Yeah.
Well, even if he never walked that path, he probably never would have got that feeling ever again.
Yeah.
Like it's a choice that you got to make. Like, goddamn, what's worth more? Because just like Dr. Curry said, you not like Biggie said, however you want to interpret the shit, you nobody till somebody kills you, right? Von's gonna have he did leave he has a legacy, and I know this shit sounds warped and crazy as fuck.
Doesn't.
But it's like you're not even seen unless you got the standards that the white man says you're supposed to have, or you dead.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I love you too.
That's some crazy shit.
Please don't take anything I said to be like I'm upset or feel any kind of way about it. It just is what it is. I love you to death, Ma. I wouldn't trade you for the world. You are the absolute best.
We both love you, Mama Howard.
You being my mother is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. That being said, though, like
that's some shit to think about.
Yeah, like it was easier for me to just accept in my head he ain't shit. He don't fuck with me, right? I don't know what his truth is. You know what I'm saying? But that was easier to me than when it became a thought of, well, damn, what kind of motherfucker was he? You know what I'm saying? And that as much as anything is probably why I've never actually been like, yeah, reach out to his other kids and let me talk to them. And let me find out, because part of me don't want to find out. Part of me don't want to be like, oh no, he was dope as shit. Now he was fucked up. He had this and that going on. He was dealing with his demons. But when he had his demons in check, motherfucker was amazing. Right? I don't really want to deal with that shit, right? And you know, part of me is like, yo, because I've learned that lesson, like as an adult, I learned that lesson. I wouldn't take that decision out of my child's hands, right? Even coming from the best place possible, right? Even if I was like, yo, I really don't think it's good for them to be around this motherfucker. I would just let them feel that. Like, you know what I mean? And that's only learning later. Because growing up, dealt with it just fine. This shit didn't even cross my mind that often. It wasn't until I was a grown-ass man and started to understand more about this world, in particular what it does to black men, that I became more empathetic, understanding, curious about his circumstances and how that led him to whatever path that led him down. But yeah, I'm done with that, man. I'm off that. Let's take a break, man. Let's take a break.
All right.
We'll take our last break. When we come back, we'll get a little bit more into the conversation. We'll put a bow on it for today. We'll be right back.
WIFTBPM.
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard.
You'll never breed a warrior.
Warriors, come out to
Shh. You hear that? And that's what's happening at every angle. They're creating paradigms where we can only raise feminine men.
Yes.
Whether they're homosexual or not, they feminine as shit.
Because all masculinity is toxic.
All masculinity is toxic in a war-torn society where the dominant society is saying to your ass, we don't never want no warriors.
Right.
You bastards. Any book you've ever read, you can read the Bible, goddammit. When they go and they destroy some shit, they kill all the boy babies.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't even want you growing up to think you're going to do some shit to me.
Animals do the same thing. If I come over and I take over this village now or whatever, like this gonna be my pride. First thing I'm doing, killing the male boys, like killing the male babies.
Don't you even grow up with that.
Don't you even think about it. Okay?
Bitch.
Right. You ain't my daddy, you damn right I ain't your daddy. Fuck your fort, little nigga.
Fuck your fort.
You're not my dad.
Oh man, I hate that I laugh at this shit in public.
That's real.
I hate that I laugh at this stuff in public.
That's real though, right? Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard live on What's In It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday.
The Chicago Legal Network is the collaboration of attorneys that concentrate in many areas of the law most needed in Chicago neighborhoods. The CLN lawyers focus on personal injury, criminal defense, and other issues. The CLN lawyers all average over 20 years of legal experience and are dedicated to helping the Chicago community. The Chicago Legal Network is committed to developing Black lawyers through mentorship and co-representation. So if you were injured in a car accident, slip and fall, or injured on the job, or you need assistance with criminal defense, including driving violations and DUI, check out ChicagoLegalNetwork.com for more information or call 773-912-3545. 773-912-3545. You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard. We have a very, very special guest, man, joining us on today's show.
Walter Beach, he's my godfather and one of two of the dopest black men I've met in my entire life.
This is how I always introduce myself. I'm black in attitude, I'm black in behavior, I'm black in belief and thought, and I'm African in spirit. I accept and acknowledge the fact of my African self being intuitively and have developed the cognitive strength to function as a black man in America. As an African black man, my hypocrisy manifests as silent rage. I must decide what my relationship to racism will be. Only I can say when and where I enter my manhood with quiet, undisputed dignity, without violence or special patronage, asking no quarters and giving no quarters. When and where I enter, I take with me my people. That's what the sovereignty that Toussaint was talking about means to me. I'm a sovereign human being. And like he was talking about in that point that we made, and I'm going to start when we was talking about all of our species demands to be free. They may not have the power to prevent it, but they just demands it. And that's what they do. That's what the struggle is about.
WIIFTBPN. Live from What's in It for the Black Media Studio. You're listening to I Said What I Said.
Wait, what did you say?
I said you're listening to I Said What I Said.
I just said that.
I know you just said that.
That's what I just said.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Exactly. What he just said.
With Herb Howard and Toussaint Worth.
That's about one of the nicest things you've ever said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And we are back live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Warner. My name is Herb Howard. This is I Said What I Said. It is intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest. We almost lost our thug moniker in the last segment, okay? Shit got a little soft around this motherfucker. I had to take a break.
Y'all never sounded more manly to me.
Yeah.
This shit ain't soft, G. This shit is truth. That's it, right? And we were just talking off air, but it's not even like this is the standard. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If we think about it from the standpoint of just the conversations we just had, and we compare and contrast both of our fathers' interactions with our lives, them two men would probably end up on various degrees of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One here, one here.
Yeah.
Right? But how the world saw them was the fucking same.
Yep. Real spill.
Same, G.
I appreciate y'all, man, for being here for this conversation, right? I appreciate the fact that we've built this community, this family, this connectivity, this bond that would even allow for such a conversation to take place, right? I'm 34 years old. I've never told that. I've never expressed that in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate y'all for being instrumental in creating this platform, this place of truth and honesty, right? It's one thing for me to be truthful about liquor or relationships, right? It's a whole nother thing to be truthful about some vulnerable shit. And I appreciate y'all.
But I'm gonna say this to you because you're my little brother, G. It's
Yes,
gonna
sir.
come a point in time when you start to be truthful with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most important truth you could tell is the one that you're telling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And even we making jokes and shit about softness and all that shit.
Yeah.
I know, and I've told you this too because you know my real peer group. Some of the biggest goons that these dudes at the streets I know these dudes in real life.
Yeah.
And I call them my friends. And I know goddamn well they not who they pretending to be. All that shit is an act. You know what I mean? And it's in that honesty that you really find that strength. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I got children. I got a wife. I got family and responsibilities. You know what I mean? And this is a conversation I have with my son and my daughter, for that matter, every day. You know, and it's done in different ways. Like, you know, we could be riding down the street and you see a group of guys with, you know, their hats broke off and the Gucci, fake Gucci belts from the swap meet. And then you see somebody, a young man with a baby in a stroller. And I asked them flat out, which one of them look like manhood to you? And I want you to be clear about which one is. Ain't no shame in that shit. That's the real warrior spirit.
Then no, but they see the manhood as the 16 slim jeans.
Until we change the narrative.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Until we change the narrative. But part of changing the narrative is allowing ourselves to be seen, right? And being able to narrate the stories of our existence. And that's why Tommy Curry becomes paramount and important to me, right? Because we have these conversations again. You know, like Maze makes a running joke. You should make a fucking running joke, but Maze been having conversations for the last month about putting a woman on our show, right? And he was like, "Two gonna be the asshole. He's gonna be the curmudgeon, and he's gonna be." And I'm really not that guy. No. But I'm standing on what my belief is,
right?
And I'm standing on what my understanding is, and I'm standing on what the data says,
right?
But I'm not placating to this paradigm that you done created about through how you feel or through the world told you how you should feel.
Right.
Because I don't subscribe to those narratives because I know fucking better.
Right.
Now, if you invest in knowing better and you got more information than me, I'll yield to that shit anytime. But if you don't have the information I have, I'm not standing down to your motherfucking feelings.
Why would I?
Because your narrative is being created by the same system that was developed to destroy me. I can't bow down to that narrative. That's beta male shit to me. That's beta, right? That's beta when I start to operate within the subscription of the goddamn culture that's dedicated and desires to see me destroyed. I don't give a fuck about how you feel about that. I don't give a fuck if your feelings is hurt when I say you full of shit. When your ideas don't match up to the data. When your ideas don't match up to my experience. Right? So you spew off this shit. When you start to spew off the numbers and the data and even just think about how effective that shit is too, right? We talk about Kamala Harris running for office. There's data attached to, and then I was giving, you know I had a certain philosophy about that shit. I would stand on that and give reasons to why I ain't fucking with this woman. And the backlash would be, oh, you hate women.
Right.
I don't know how you got there.
Because I wasn't listening to everything else you just said.
I don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, too, though, we are affected by the same narratives.
100%.
Right? So there's men out here that placate to the same ideas. I ain't shit. Brothers ain't shit. We ain't shit. We don't deserve. Not having the information, not having the context, abiding by the prescribed narrative. Think about that. So I just said the world don't see us. But this shit is so powerful that it makes us not see us.
Right. That's real.
That's some amazingly powerful shit.
That's real. And then you attach your values to the same systems or value set that other people attach to you, right? And deem you not valuable or not worthy to be this or not worthy to be that. Whether that's not worthy to be a husband or a partner or not worthy to even be a father, right? Like those types of things. And then you internalize that shit. And be very, very clear. Somebody just said my father was a victim of Reaganomics. Cool, right? But let's be very, very clear as well, right? As while I'm, saying, I wish that had gone this way or that way, be very, very clear that I ain't giving him no passes on this shit. Some of y'all been knowing me for a year or two, right? However long we've been doing this shit and y'all been rocking with the show. Y'all know exactly where the fuck I'm from, right? It comes up at least once every fucking show, which means what? That motherfucker knew where I was at too, right? You knew exactly where I was. I went to the same fucking grammar school from 1st grade to 8th grade. I went to one high school. Motherfucker, tough as Lorianne is, fam. You wanted to see me, you could have saw me. So I'm not absolving him of no responsibility or accountability. Fuck that, right? My child's mother couldn't keep me from my goddamn child.
But also,
whatever my issues and demons were,
I respect
unless you internalize that shit yourself, to where you be like, maybe I'm not worthy of being in this life. You internalize that shit on your own self, and I ain't got no paths for that either. So, you know, therapy Thursdays, not like that. Y'all came with another concept that we should have therapy Thursdays.
Fuck that shit. I ain't in therapy, and I know people get mad at that shit, but I'm serious. Fuck that shit. I think that shit's a con, right? But here, this is therapy, right? This is therapy because this is love. This is my little brother.
This is therapy,
period,
right?
And there's where we missed the motherfucking boat, right? You need therapy because you don't got love. Motherfuckers don't want to hear that part of the shit.
Right.
They don't want to hear that part, right? Because if you got love, ain't no space. You can't be vulnerable.
Right.
You don't need no random motherfucker that don't know you that you can tell your truth to.
Right.
Why you can't tell the truth to a motherfucker that know you?
Right.
Because you don't really love and trust that person. So you feel more comfort in this random motherfucker who ain't had your experience. Get that shit is insanity, man. That's what I mean about this whole shit. We keep trying to fit in and assimilate into insanity. And then wonder why the outcomes is fucking insanity. That's insane.
I feel you, right? But if that is just the reality of the situation, right? That we don't have those safe spaces where we can have that love and have those exchanges. Motherfuckers gotta go find the therapy somewhere else, right? From a professional, motherfucker who's just here because you paying them to be here. And they happen to know how to have conversations and how to create an environment to really allow you to derive at your own conclusions about your own shit. That's really what the fuck is happening in therapy, right? And so that kind of does create a scenario where that becomes necessary. Though I get your point, but I like
it's 550. I see all these comments like two this wrong, two this wrong, two this wrong.
But Ready Rock says this is the therapy, right?
And that's what I mean, though, right? Do you remember we had that therapist come into the other show we was doing? You remember that? I remember it distinctly because I couldn't wait. I couldn't fucking wait. I was so eager to talk to that motherfucker. You understand me? Because the paradigm is based in insanity, right? And if you don't look crazy, then you fit into the insanity of the paradigm. Because if you're outside of the paradigm, you probably look crazy, right? So fitting into a crazy paradigm wouldn't make you anything but crazy. It's the quote, to fully assimilate into an insane society is no sign of sanity. You know what I mean? It's just not, right? But we don't give credence to how insane the construct is. We don't give credence to how insane the construct is, right? And one of the things I was going to say, even in reference to your pops, Jim, is that maybe he gave you all he had. And that's when it gets to that nuance shit. It gets to that spiritual shit. Right?
T.I., man, without giving it to me, you gave it to me.
Listen, the story is Siddhartha who becomes Buddha, who becomes the Buddha, right? He was born into immense wealth. Like this motherfucking daddy he had all this shit.
You can't blow this money.
You can't blow this dough. Right? Now, the warrior, not the warrior, but the witchcraft, I don't know what they would call him at the time. But the lady who would come over and speak over the son's life, right? Said that, hey, man, this boy is going to be either a great warrior or a great spiritual leader. The daddy said, shit, I got all this bread and shit. I got all this power and shit. He can't be on the spiritual shit. I need a motherfucker that's going to protect all of what I have. Right? So he insulates this environment for Siddhartha. So Siddhartha's environment is controlled by other shit of opulence. His life is normalized. He's raising them and training them in this warrior spirit all his life. Siddhartha will beat your motherfucking ass. You understand me? He built like that. Right? But his entire experience was of a world of kind of opulence because his daddy felt like if he ever saw the truth of poverty, his empathetic energy would arise and he would move toward this kind of spiritual, empathetic version of life. He ain't want that shit. You can't be that motherfucker, homie.
You can't be that.
You can't be that motherfucker because I need you to be
this
a
tough
warrior
motherfucker.
to protect my wealth.
Right.
So he created a world for this motherfucker.
Right.
By accident, Siddhartha gets out the gates of the illusion. Sees all this goddamn poverty.
Right.
And couldn't believe it. Like, what is this paradigm I've been living in all my journey?
Right.
When all this shit is happening.
Right.
His natural soul starts to emerge. He's empathetic. Right. He got all his wealth. Right? And he begins to give his wealth away. Because he can't see these people hurting.
Right.
Can't see these people hurting.
Right.
And at the end of his journey, he starts to recognize, I didn't value this wealth ever.
Never mattered to me.
It never meant nothing to me. It don't have no value. This ain't real. It don't have no value. He becomes a deity. Now, Jesus. What the fuck did Jesus do?
Give away everything.
Give away every fucking thing. Right? What did Muhammad do?
Give away everything.
Motherfucking thing. Right? So, but we got these, but we all subscribe to one of these kind of religious ideologies. But our whole paradigm is based on hoarding. Ain't none of it based on giving. Ain't none of it based on giving. The paradigm is like the narratives. This is the legitimately the upside down word. This is the goddamn Truman Show.
Right.
Right? The paradigms have been shifted.
Right.
And someone else is playing or creating the narratives because we're operating outside the polarities of our natural spiritual inclinations. Period. Right? So I know there's gonna be pushback too. You crazy? So I don't care. I'm vested, right? So I lean and I say this about, look here, I lost my whole family, bro. Ain't no money in the world worth that.
Right.
It ain't nothing the world could take from me at this point.
One of my partners, my age, millionaire, right? He was born into some bread. His father died. The very same day the next year, his brother died in a car accident. Very same day, 1 year later, right? His brother dies in a car accident. A few years after that, his mother dies. Now, that's it, right? He's got this big dumbass estate. To this day, we go over there and hang out. It's always fun. We did it in high school too. But I tell people all the time who don't know him, right? So they look and they be like, yo, it's cracking for him. Like, you don't know him, do you? Like, you came to this party, and you like, that dude, this his house? Yep, all this shit is his.
He a doctor, he just got money.
He had money, and all his people died. Life insurance and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? He's a smart dude too, but his money came from that shit.
No, I was asking, I thought I knew this guy. That's why.
I'll tell you what it is off there.
Yeah.
But anyway, people come around, they're like, yo, this is fucking cracking. And I had this conversation with this person recently that was saying this shit. And I was like, yo, you don't know him, do you? Like, yo, yeah, such and such, and he did this and that. You don't know him, bro. I wouldn't trade places with him for all the motherfucking money in the world, right? That dude has went through some shit that I wouldn't want to go through for a motherfucking thing, right? But people come out and they see this other shit. They're like, yo, you don't even know him, fam. You wouldn't want that life for shit.
See, that's that spiritual nuance too, though, cuz.
Some motherfuckers would, huh?
I'm not saying want it, but I absolutely value those experiences. I ain't never wanted to lose my family, but because I leaned into and tried to understand those experiences, whether letting them overtake me with just sadness, I can't deny the lessons that I've learned from them.
That's all you can do with it once it happens.
No. But see,
I'm talking about from a motherfucker from the outside being like, yo.
But hear what I'm saying, though. I would have never learned those lessons had them people still been here, because it would have been easier not to invest in the internal lesson that I was supposed to learn. Right? And if I'm living within the confines or the constraints of God's plan or the universe's plan for me, that information is necessary. Right? And how would I get that information had not I went through certain experiences? Right? So I don't want to sound arrogant, but I know that people listen to me. I know that. You know what I mean? And I ain't talking about through this radio. I'm talking about in life. You know what I mean? In life. I have a level of rapport and magneticism.
It's the commanding versus demanding shit you were talking about earlier.
That kind of spans the gamut in a way that I know a lot of people don't have it. You know what I mean? I know I can leverage this shit for financial gain. or I know I could leverage this shit for political power.
Sure.
Or I could leverage this shit for the greater good of my people and my communities. And in different ways, I've leveraged it in every one of those angles.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've not reached the end of my journey. I don't even know what the end of my journey is. I'm open to it. You know what I mean? But all of those experiences are propelling me toward whatever that end goal is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that internally it's what I say all the time, man. A lot of times growth requires pain. And I'm saying a lot of times just because I'm being nice. I think it's every fucking time.
Yeah.
I think it's every fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe because of the dynamics of, the relationship I have with my mom or the relationship I have with my father, I wouldn't even recognize that pain until it happened right there.
Yeah. Listen, man, we out of time. Brother, I appreciate you, man. It's a good conversation. We talk a lot of shit up here, and sometimes it's about testing your work, and sometimes it's about who the fuck are we? How the fuck do we get here? Can we dig deep enough into ourselves? Are we willing to dig deep enough into ourselves to find peace and a foundation on which we can build upon? Thank y'all so very, very much for being a part of that. Each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all so very, very much, not only today, but for everything that y'all have meant to I said what I said that would even allow for a conversation like this to take place today. Y'all mean a whole lot to us. I tell you that all the fucking time. And on a day like today, I hope you can understand exactly what it is I mean by that. Thank y'all so very, very much. We will be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Y'all make sure y'all get up with the Maze Jackson Show in the morning. Stick around for the Book of Dawn, Muwakil's World. And we'll see y'all back here at 3 p.m. For Sonia Escobar, for Tucson One. And my name is Herb Howard. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Until then, y'all be good to each other. Peace.